Orcs Fire by Celeste King.
Tell me, Aeroth, what burns hotter than dragon's breath in Protheka?
Passion between a fierce orc warrior and his unlikely mate.
Sounds explosive. Care to share the details?
I would, but YouTube might douse our flames. For the full heat.
Let me guess. Worldsofprotheka.com.
Smart and sexy. Use code YouTube30 to fan the flames with 30% off on any digital product on the site.
Ready to feel the burn? Like, subscribe, and comment to ignite your desires of daily releases of free full audiobooks.
This is Celeste King's Orcs Fire. Chapter 1. Zerdic. The smell of roasting meat draws me outside of my tent where young Kurthuk approaches me with a look on his face. Kurthuk, how are you holding up? I ask him. Freezing, sir. We've been out here for weeks now. Surprised I still have fingers. He's honest, and I like that. Usually. Kurthuk, enjoy it. You're living the best life. A soldier's life, I tell him, patting him on the back. Rather be curled up with a warm woman, sir, he jokes. Give me a cold, damp field to sleep in, and the blood of one of those bastard elves soaked into my shirt any day, I tell him. Averaging 2 raids a week on their supply lines, we are hitting them where it hurts, Kurthuk. We're pissing off those dark elves good, sir, he says proudly. We certainly are. Now get yourself some food before Wannock eats it all. Greedy bastard probably would, he says, hurrying towards the fire. We don't mess around. If you're a dark elf out here on these roads, consider yourself dead. We're getting heavy with their supplies. Apart from the ale and wine, they are spoils for the men. They'll drink that crap dry well before we hit base camp. I reckon we have one last raid in us. So I have sent my scouts out, who will hopefully bring us good news by morning. I could stay out here forever painting the roads red with dark elf blood. But I have my orders and follow them like a soldier. With any luck, they'll send us back out again since we are the best. I couldn't do with sitting around base camp, growing softer by the hour and watching my men sleep and drink themselves into oblivion. I watched them settle down for another night under the stars, another barrel or two of elf wine to help them through. They are a strong band, and some of the most brutal orcs I've ever known. But I let them down and will never forgive myself for that. We used to number 30 strong, the fiercest war band you could imagine. We'd been through hell together. Each man owed the other his life at some point or other along the way. Then they made us take on some humans to help. The worst decision I ever agreed to, and I am the one that has to carry that. 13 of us left now, unlucky for some. The first chance those humans got, they sold us out to the elves. We were 20 miles north, deep in elf country. We'd got word a senior transport of elves was heading east. They'd be sitting ducks on the road. Should have been an easy one for us. But it wasn't. Of course, they made themselves worthwhile, the humans. They'd cook and mend our gear. Christ probably would have sucked us off if you asked them to. It was all an act. The crafty little idiots had it all planned out. And for what? Some coin and a new pair of shoes, no doubt. None of us noticed one of them slip away that night. Why would we? They'd played the game well. The bastards had fooled each and every one of us. I remember one of them came up to me that night and brought me a full flask of ale. Good luck with the raid tomorrow, sir, he said with a smile. We have them in the bag, I told him. I will never forget his face. It's burnt on my memory, and I will see that face again one day. I swear, I will smash into pieces. That night would be the last time I'd shut my eyes with a 30-strong warband and a clean conscience. Let's kill some elves, I shouted to my men as we rode out just before dawn. We took cover on the high ground above the east road. Xeris, get your ass moving, I shout. I need you in position. Xeris quickened his group into position. We'd done this 100 times before and had yet to fail. We watched as the first horses came over the horizon. Our axes at the ready, our senses tuned for battle. That was when the first arrow struck Incor through his left eye, and my second in command dropped dead beside me. It was a trap. We had been betrayed. Arrow after arrow came from nowhere. We couldn't fight back because the idiots were hidden from sight. The thing about the Dark Elves is once they have the offense, you are screwed. All I could do was try and get the men out of there as quickly as possible. "Fall back!" I roared. I watched as one brave orc after another fell around me. I wished for an arrow to strike me, but that was not my fate that day. Only 13 of us returned to camp. The humans had long gone. I vowed at that moment never to trust one of the weak, pale degenerates again. I gulped back the ale in my flask, closed my eyes briefly, and embraced the little peace it brings me. You see, I am a soldier and have a job to do. "You dirty bastard!" Wannik roars. I glance across to the fire and see his arms outstretched, flying about like a madman spitting out his ale. It hisses as it dies on the embers of the fire. Laughter erupts from the rest of the men. I roll my eyes and wonder what the hell is going on. Which one did it? I swear to the war god I'll tear you limb from limb when I find out. Wannik bellows. I know I am needed, so I finish the last of my ale and toss my flask to one side. "Calm yourself, Wannik," I shout as I approach. I can't help but smile as I watch the rest of them double over with laughter. "Was it you, Xeris?" Wannik hisses, pointing his finger at a laughing Xeris. "You're always screwing me over." Okay. Pipe down, you bunch of assholes. What's going on?" I demand. Wannik looks at me, his face red with rage. "One of them pissed in my ale." I look at him and try to keep a straight face. It can only be Xeris, but if I get him to confess, there will be a bloodbath. Only one way to solve this. "Now, Wannik, it seems they are only pulling your leg." "Why would anyone want to piss in your ale?" I calmly say. "'Cause I'm always the butt of their jokes, especially that bastard there, Zerdic." He points at Xeris, who is still doubled with laughter. "Now, Wannik, wasn't it Xeris who cut off the head of that dark elf who was about to spear you through the heart?" I say to him. Wannik looks down at his feet. "Yes, but—" "And didn't you save Thraka here by taking that arrow in the shoulder?" I add. "Well, yes," Wannik admits. "There is a bond in those things, something others just wouldn't understand. You are all brothers in arms." I watch his face change. "Brothers in arms!" Xeris shouts, and the others follow suit with a roar of approval. "Now," I say, "let's toast to that as soldiers." Everyone raises their cups. I nod at Wannik, who reluctantly raises his cup. "What is yours is mine. What is theirs is ours. That is our bond in blood," I roar. The men cheer and swig back their drinks, including Wannik. Xeris jumps up and pats Wannik on the back, bringing him back into the fold. I hope Xeris didn't piss in Wannik's cup.
Chapter 2. Ellen. I count it 2 days, and I've no idea where we are going. Some of the other women are getting sick. It's biting cold at night, and the food they give us isn't fit for animals. The Dark Elves are cruel beyond belief. They covered the wagon we are travelling in so we can't see outside, and when it rains, it soaks through. The ice-cold drops soak the floor and what little blankets we have. I knew it was coming, the move. I overheard them discussing the order to bring us further north, that we were to be entered into service for an elf called Vesperon. Only the gods know the unspeakable things we will have to endure. I look at their faces and see the misery of how they got here, etched into their faces. One girl, Hilo, with beautiful red hair, can't be more than 19. I watch as she suffers and can no longer bear it. I hand her my blanket. Being cold is better than watching her suffer. "Thank you," she whispers. I smile. I'd seen her a few times before, dressed and made up like a doll, a plaything for the elves. I'd watched as they led her along the dark, cold corridor, and knowing what they would do to her made me sick to my stomach. The light has gone from her eyes. They're dead. My light is still alive. It has not been easy, but I promised myself that one day I would be free. But what use would freedom be if the light inside you has died out? So I simply packed my soul up and stored it away, hidden from the icy hands and lips of the elves, and when I am alone, I can unpack it and let its power surge through me. Fuel to get me through. I know one day this will end, but it's been so long now that the memories of my childhood and my family get thinner every day. It's been years since I was free, my family murdered by the bastard orcs, and myself stolen by disgusting elves. One of the women gets a coughing fit, her whole body convulses, and the pain it causes her is obvious. I move over to her and take her hand. "Monica, it's okay, you're okay," I tell her, but it's a lie. She's pale and becoming weaker by the hour. The coughing fit calms, and she inhales a much-needed breath. "Jark," she murmurs. I stroke her head. "Who's Jark?" I ask. "My husband. I need him," she begs. "It's okay," I say. "You'll see Jark again one day." She probably won't last another day, but sometimes a lie is better than the truth. "They cut his head off in front of me, my Jark. He was a good man, kind." "I am sorry about that." I brush the hair from her pallid cheek. "Try to sleep. Dream of Jark." "Yes," she says. "I'll dream of him." I stroke her hair and watch as she passes into the safety of sleep. I hope Jark is there, and I hope they kiss and hold each other before she's forced back into this dark world we inhabit. I leave her and return to my place in the filthy wagon. I try to see through the cloth that covers us from the outside world. Has it changed since I last saw it? Since my captivity, I've heard elves talk of war with the orcs. I hate the elves, but I still want the orcs to be wiped from this planet. They robbed me of my childhood, my mother and father. I hate my captors, but in this I hope they succeed. I hope my fellow humans outside have found the strength to fight back and rise up. But deep down, I know these creatures are too strong and cunning for a simple race like us. Maybe one day, I tell myself, as our wagon rattles over the bumpy road that tosses us about like stones in a sack. Maybe I can help. After my capture when I was much younger, I pretended I couldn't speak. It was a veiled attempt to provoke sympathy in them that I soon learned didn't exist, but their tongues became loose when I was around. I've heard many things that might be able to bring them down. The wagon grinds to a halt, and we jolt forward. "What's happening?" Hilo asks me. "They have to feed us. They can't let us all die. That wouldn't suit them," I tell her. I hear them outside our wagon, the pitched voices that bring me nothing but hate for them. I look over at Monica. She still sleeps. I move over and shake her. She feels different, heavy, cold. "I'm so sorry, Monica. Hopefully you're with Yark now," I whisper, kissing her forehead, then pull the blanket over her face. At least she is free now, more than can be said for me. The back of the cloth is whipped up to reveal two of the bastards sneering at us. It's appalling that all dark elves have this elegance and grace about them. They're beautiful in a sickening way. "Time to eat," one of them says with a smirk. "You see how good we are to you?" the other one says as he hauls a bucket of rotten stew up onto our wagon. "You need to be strong. Vesperin has the desire of 12 elves. He demands a lot from his pets." He laughs as I stand to get their attention. I point to Monica and then move my finger across my throat to communicate her passing. "Oh hell, that's all we need," one of the dark elves growls. "This is your fault. I told you we should have checked on them more. They will flay us alive for this," the other shouts. I hope they do. "We'll just dump her. They won't miss one of them," the dark elf suggests. "Good idea, my friend, good idea," the other dark elf adds. "You two," the dark elf barks at me and Hilo. "Get her out of there, quickly!" I look at Hilo, who seems terrified at the thought. I grab her arm, trying to give her strength. "She's dead," Hilo says to me. I nod. "Right, less talk, more action. Get that sack of filth out of the wagon now," he shouts as he pulls his whip from his belt. I hurry Hilo over to the body and motion for her to take the legs. I make sure the blanket covers her as we lift her body. She's light, skin and bones all that is left of her. Some of the other women watch in horror. Others bow their heads, unable to witness a fate that is staring them in the face. A few look ahead, stone-faced. This isn't the first time they've seen something like this, and it won't be the last. Hilo and I lift Monica's body and carry it to the door of our cage. I jump down, and we lower her to the ground as Hilo climbs down to join me. "Dump her over there in that ditch," the dark elf commands. We lift her and carry her from the wagon to the ditch at the side of the road. We lay her down gently on the cold ground and watch as Hilo kneels and kisses Monica on the forehead, then begins to cry. "Hurry up, bitches!" one of the dark elves shouts. I look up and realise how long it has been since I saw the sky.
Chapter 3. Zerdic. I'm restless and can't lie staring at the roof of my tent any longer, so I throw the blankets from me, stand, and let the freezing early morning air bathe my body. It bites, and it feels good. It's a good day to kill some elves. I stand in my naked form and outstretch my arms. A scorpion sting of frost can't defeat me. I relish in my strength and my naked form. I am a soldier, and I'll tear you limb from limb. I am built. Every inch of me is pure soldier, a killing machine. I've heard the tales of the early orcs that fought naked in battle, muscles that would strike fear into the enemy's souls, and shafts that their women folk would crave, and soon come to endure as they were screwed raw as spoils of war. It's been a while since I had anyone. Seems the only things on the market these days are human women, and I despise them. They're treacherous like their men, weak and soulless, only interested in self-preservation. Soon, I tell myself, I'll be greatly rewarded for my efforts. I don't let myself consider how few orc women we had before the war, how the dark elves probably treated them. I dress not in the uniform of a leader, but that of a soldier, like my men. I'm no different from them, no airs and graces. I drink with them, fight with them, and crap with them. I pull back the flap of my tent and step outside. The fire from the night before still smolders, and the usual refuse of discarded tankards, plates, and half-chewed bones are scattered around. A bunch of untidy bastards, but I don't want them to be maids. They need to be wild. I'll miss this camp, but there will be others, because I intend to do this until some idiot sticks a dagger through my heart, and the war god comes to claim me. I hear something coming and listen closely. I've memorized the footsteps of all my men. It's one of the scouts. It's Nakic, I'm sure of it. He does that jump when he runs, making his fifth footfall louder than the rest. He's coming through the forest from the north, and I pray he has the news that I desire. I sit and wait for his arrival. It's not long before he bursts into the camp. I stand to greet him. "Nakic!" He stops in front of me. I notice he is out of breath. "How long have you been running?" I ask. "Only 6 miles, sir." "Well, catch your breath. It's only you and me." Relieved, he doubles down and takes a few deep breaths. "Now, I hope you bring me good news." Indeed I do. An elf transport is heading north, quite well armed. They must be moving something of value. Music to my ears, Nakic. Great work. I slap him on the shoulder. If we move fast, there's a hill about 8 miles from here. We can take them from there. They're still parked up for the night, Nakic adds. Great. They're probably still jerking their morning wood. Nakic laughs. Shall I get the bastards up, sir? We shall get the bastards up, Nakic, since we seem to be the only ones that do any work around here. I reach down for a pot beside the fire and grab one of the metal spoons before heading toward the tents. Thraka is the first to wake as I bang on the pot. He runs out stark naked with his axe in hand. Get up, you pukes, I yell. Time to mess up some elves. Nakic goes to one of the other tents, opens the flap, and throws in some ice-cold water. The yelps erupt as my orcs exit the tent in a fury. We leave in 10! I shout, laughing as Wannik emerges in his underpants, scratching his ass. And like I'd expect, they are ready to ride out in 10 minutes. They make me proud. And today, we shall kill dark elves, and I will be even prouder. I might even have some sport today and take one prisoner to roast over the fire later. They don't have much fat on them, these skinny-assed elves, but I never knew one that didn't make a fire burn brighter. We settle ourselves on the hill, a perfect spot for an offensive. The sun is halfway to midday, and I'd expect to see them on the road at any minute. I rub my axe and ask the war god to lead us to victory. I know he will. I hear Nakik's whistle from down the flank, and know we are approaching the elves. I can feel the electricity run through the line as the men itch for blood, and blood they will have. I steady them with a raise of my hand. Sitting atop my mount, I know that everyone can see me. There are some orcs atop Hokines as well, swift and precise enough to slaughter better. But most of us will launch into the fray on front, myself included. I watch the elf transport slowly approach. I count about 60 elves, which is tricky, but well within our means to exterminate. I notice a wagon at the center, covered, and wonder what they are hiding in it, a mystery that will be interesting to discover. As the middle of the transport aligns with me, I release the roar to attack. I raise myself first from the cover of the hill and raise my axe high for all my orcs to see. Then, bloodthirsty and united, we charge. The dark elves don't know what's about to hit them, and I watch them panic, scramble, the first ones already fleeing like the cowards they are. As always, Wannik is the first to strike. The big idiot always makes first contact. With one swing, he takes 2 of their heads off. He roars, and the rest of us descend upon them. I slice my way through elf after elf, and I love it. Soon I dive off my mount, wanting to feel the crunch of bones beneath my hands, and the Hokine, bred just for this, charges forward, slamming its thick hooves into dark elves nearby. I turn to see Xeris with his dagger drawn, sticking an elf in his balls. The elf drops to the ground. Xeris takes the elf's neck in his hands and snaps it. The dirty elf falls in a heap. One after the other, the rest follow. This is easy pickings, and my orcs are enjoying themselves. The screaming cowards are screwed, disorganized, and lazy. I watch Thraka have fun with one, holding him high by one leg. As he screams, he cuts off his foot. The elf falls to the ground, so he picks him up by the other leg and cuts that foot off as well. The elf pulls himself with his hands, thinking he has a chance to escape. That's when Thraka cuts off both his hands. He leaves the dark elf bleeding on the ground, crying out for his mother. These vile creatures have had this coming, and we are happy to oblige. As the battle rages on, the field is filled with the sounds of clashing steel, screams of the dying, and the victorious roars of my fellow orcs. We are in our element. The chaos of the battlefield is our playground. We revel in the violence, the brutality of it all. Gorba the Goot Tripper, the most sadistic of us all, is known for his unique way of killing. He's got his hands on a quivering dark elf, his thick fingers digging into the elf's flesh through the gaps in his armor. I watch as Gorba drives his crude orcish knife into the elf's lower abdomen, twisting it viciously. The elf gasps, his eyes wide with terror and agony. Gorba pulls his blade free, a sickening grin spreading across his face as he watches the elf's entrails spill onto the ground. "I told you I'd gut you," he bellows, his laughter echoing over the battlefield. To my left, I see Bagra and Grom, the twin terrors, back to back, hacking their way through the dark elven ranks. They move in unison, a deadly dance born from years of fighting side by side. A dark elf lunges at Bagra, but with a swift maneuver, Bagra sidesteps the attack, allowing Grom to slam his double-headed axe into the elf's side. The elf stumbles, trying to regain his footing, but it's too late. Bagra's blade comes down, severing the elf's head from his body. Meanwhile, I continue my own bloody work. With every swing of my axe, another dark elf falls. Their blood, a rich, deep burgundy, stains the ground, and the air is heavy with the scent of death. They try to rally, to mount some form of defense, but we are relentless. We are unstoppable. In the midst of it all, I see Wannik again. His size and strength make him a formidable sight, his broad shoulders heaving with exertion. He's surrounded by a pile of dark elf corpses, a testament to his prowess. An elf charges at him, but Wannik merely grins, smashing his fist into the elf's face and sending him sprawling. He then plunges his sword into the fallen elf, his grin never wavering. The battlefield is a tapestry of death, painted with the blood of the dark elves. As I look around, I see my orcs, my brothers, dominating the field. Their roars of triumph fill the air, a symphony of victory that drowns out the dying cries of the dark elves. Yes, this is a good day to be an orc. And soon, there are none left. Bodies lie torn and broken around us. Their vile stench is the only thing that remains, and we've bagged ourselves another batch of dark elf loot. Once the dust had settled, I take a moment to survey the battlefield. The once green grass is now a macabre canvas of crimson and ebony, splayed bodies of dark elves strewn in a grotesque dance of death. Their armor shines dimly in the dying light, a pitiful testament to their lost battle. Making my way through the field, I kick aside the weapons of the fallen, my gaze scouring the bodies for signs of life. One by one, I confirm that each dark elf has met their end. Their once haughty eyes now vacant, their lips silent of the spells they once cast. Turning my attention to my own, I see my orcs, strong and resilient, tending to their wounds and counting their spoils. The injuries are minimal, a few cuts and scratches here, a broken bone there. Nothing they haven't dealt with before. But not all of us were so lucky. There were a couple of casualties, brave orcs who'd given their lives in this skirmish. I see an orc in the distance kneeling over his brother in arms. We all let the quiet sweep, and I offer up a silent prayer to the war god, a thanks for protecting us today, for only taking so little in payment. Yet even in the face of death, there is a sense of pride among us. These brave orcs died honorably, their sacrifices ensuring our victory. We may mourn, but we do not despair. For each orc that falls, we grow stronger, more determined. This is the way of the orc. We have emerged victorious, the battlefield ours. The dark elves' treasures are now in our hands, their gold and gems a sweet reward for our efforts. The morning is filled with the triumphant roars of my kin, their voices a chorus of victory echoing under the brightening sky. Yes, we fight for another day. We are orcs, we are warriors, and we are survivors. As I survey our victory, my curiosity is drawn to a covered wagon. "Pull that cover," I command. "Consider it done," Nakik answers. My orcs gather to see what prize we have won today. Nakik grabs the cover and begins to pull. It slips across the top of what looks like a cage. The cover drops and I stare. A bunch of human women stare back at me. Last thing I need.
Chapter 4. Ellen. The thunderous clanging of metal and ear-splitting cries of the elven warriors fill the air. I shiver in a creaking wooden cage, feeling utterly helpless to the chaos beyond. A young woman with red hair grips onto my arm so tightly that it feels as if I am being stabbed by her nails. Her mouth hangs open, and her hair is dishevelled from the rattling of chains against the bars of the cage. The women around me shake in terror, clutching each other tightly for comfort. "Don't let your fear take over," I grit through my teeth, struggling to remain composed amidst the overwhelming dread coursing through my veins. The large cloth covering rips away with a loud, unnerving screech. We are face to face with an imposing group of orcs, their faces twisted into menacing scowls as they appraise us. The faint light of the nearby fire illuminates the gruffness of their army. Leather armour covered in mud and dried blood, weapons that look newly crafted yet sharp enough to pierce our skin. A chill runs through us as we stand there, uncertain of what is to come. Briefly, I spot an orc with dark hair staring at us, but he scoffs, shaking his head and turning away. He says something to another orc, still not looking at us. The orc nods to who I have to assume is the leader. The orc strides forward, his boots crunching on the gravel, His eyes are dark and merciless as he paces back and forth before us, sizing up our little group. I swallow hard at that gaze. He is dressed in black leather armour that glints dully in the afternoon sun. The steel plates covering his shoulders are shadowed with age, and a host of scarlet runes twist across them like snake tattoos. Now and then he stops and stares at one of us long enough to make our blood run cold. It is as if silently sizing us up for some terrible fate. He strides up to me with a menacing glare, his lips curling in disdain as he raises an accusing finger. I take a step back to avoid him, but he grabs my sleeve and pulls me toward him until our faces are only inches apart. His eyes bore through me with an intensity that makes my knees weak. "Hey you," he snarls. "You look like you think you're something special. Tell me what you know about the elves, or I swear to gods I will make your life a living nightmare." He smells of sweat and dirt and blood, and my stomach churns. When I don't answer, a growl rips free of him and he slams his hand into the side of the wagon. The metal keeping us in groans and bends under him, and I scramble back as he turns away. My fingers tremble uncontrollably, and my heart thumps in my chest, each beat threatening to burst through my ribs like a caged animal. I am so tense that I can almost feel the air around me turning into static energy, charged with danger as I watch him closely. My eyes are glued to his every move, unable to shake the feeling that our fates are being determined at this exact moment. Every muscle in my body is taut, ready to spring into action at any second should the need arise. The silence between us hangs thick like a heavy blanket of fog, pressing down on me with an almost suffocating intensity. The other orcs shuffle around, hands stuffed with bits of armour and weapons that are remarkably fashioned. They're massive, threatening, and I know I am in worse hands than before. Rooted to the spot, my gaze fixes firmly on the leader of this horde who has turned back around. He stands between two trees, studying us with an unyielding countenance. Sweat trickles down my spine, and I hear one of the orcs bark something. My body stiffens with fear as the raucous laughter of the orcs builds until it becomes an unbearable crescendo. I curl up in the corner of the wagon and wonder how we're going to get out of this. I sit there trying to ignore our new captors, feeling the coldness of my wooden prison seep into my bones like an icy blanket. The smell of orcish sweat and blood engulfs me. But through the terror, a spark of hope ignites inside me. Perhaps those on the outside have grown stronger since I was taken captive. Perhaps they have stood up against their oppressors, and we will be free once we give them the information they are looking for. It is just a tiny flicker, but it gives me a small glimmer of light in a sea of darkness. I can't help but feel conflicted as I think about the state of our world. The dark elves have been pouring in, and their war with the orcs has left no room for humanity. I wonder how many of us are left. There has to be some still out there, right? Even if it's been a long time since I've seen any humans outside those in this wagon with me. My heart races with fear and anxiety as I hear the metal clanging outside the cage. The orcs huddle around their leader, arguing and bickering like a pack of wild animals. "You fools," he roars. "Do you mean to ruin my plans? Begone and think on your heedless words." They scurry away, leaving him alone with me. I try to avert my gaze but can't help but notice his face for the first time. Though he is my enemy, there is something strangely intriguing about him. His chiseled jawline and piercing eyes reveal strength and power even amongst this rabble. I don't want to admit it, but I feel drawn to him despite the hatred that consumes me. A moment of admiration quickly replaces my resentment, leaving me feeling conflicted. He stands above his fellow orcs, exuding an aura of power that I've never witnessed. Yet there's something different about him, a quality of wisdom and shrewdness that sets him apart from the others. Suddenly he turns towards me, and I feel his piercing gaze drilling into my soul. Instead of cowering like everyone else, I tilt my chin up, holding his gaze. I see the surprise flicker across his face, and he seems to give me the slightest nods. Approval. and for some reason, that does something to me that I force myself to ignore.
Chapter 5. Zerdic. My soldiers ransacked the corpses of the slaughtered dark elves, greedily sifting through their belongings for anything of value. The elves lie twisted in undignified positions, their lifeblood leaching into the muddy earth. I pay them little mind, my attention focused on the human women, prisoners of the dark elves. They huddle together against the cold, their shoulders trembling violently. The one woman, the only one who dares to hold my gaze or keep her eyes off the ground, glares at me as she watches us move about. I'm not sure what to make of her. Zerdic, look at this beauty I found around that mage's neck. Ornick holds up a gleaming amulet, his ugly face stretched in a grin. I shrug. It's elvish, probably cursed. Toss it. The fool's smile fades. I have no use for trinkets, especially not those used to adorn elves. A whimper draws my eyes back to the wagon. One of the women shivers violently, nothing more than rags clinging to her emaciated frame. Her dull, sunken eyes meet mine pleadingly. Nakik joins me, scowling at the captives. What do you want done with them? I sigh deeply. They're in no shape for travel. We'll have to take them with us. Nakik snorts in disgust. Let the cowardly rats freeze, I say. They'll just slow us down. I round on him. I am the one who makes that decision, not you. Nakik looks taken aback but keeps silent. He knows better than to press me even if I agree. This is war. I could leave them. But they are helpless and in a position that is of no fault of their own. Seeing them stuck with the dark elves has garnered a sense of protectiveness in me. Saving them, keeping them alive in spite of those bastards is the only thing that is making me side with the humans. Besides, we have plenty of spoils. It won't really hurt us. I stride over to the wagon, fishing a key off the belt of a dead elf and tossing it to Nakik. See what valuables they've got locked away. I jump onto the bench at the front of the wagon and toss down a few locked trunks the elves stacked with them inside. This was no wagon meant to take passengers. They took more care packing their trunks inside than caring for the human women they squeezed in. I leave Nakik to his task and round the wagon to the back. I don't bother looking for another key, seeing how old and rusted this lock is. Like I said, they took little care with this cargo. I clench my fist around the lock, squeezing and letting it crumble in my palm. The women shy away in fear as I swing open the door to their prison, that last barrier gone now making them that much more fearful. Up close, their misery is even more apparent. They've got nothing but rags in each other. There are no skins of water, no food. And the elves call us the barbarians. At least I know how to transport prisoners without killing half of them on the way. Sighing as I take them in, I weigh my options. I want to go back to camp, drop off our winnings, down some ale, and do the same thing tomorrow. Transporting a bunch of human women I never asked for if I want to keep them alive is going to add days to this adventure I don't want. Not to mention the humans I have no care for. I look in the wagon. The woman is still there staring at me, daring me to leave her for dead. I'm considering it, and then she lifts her chin in defiance. And that resilience in the face of what could be her death, that one movement that tells me she has more fight in her than some orcs, solidifies my decision. "Give me your cloaks!" I bark to my men. Reluctantly, they hand over the warm garments. I drape them over the women's shoulders myself. They clutch them gratefully. "Wannick!" I command. He tugs a sword free of a dead elf's scabbard and looks at me, expectant. "Sir, find more furs for our new guests. I know those skinny-assed elves don't travel light." He nods and sets to it. Of course, the front of the wagon, where the elves steered, is full of warm elvish stoles and furs for the women to don. The woman with the beautiful, suspicious green eyes still regards me warily, and I smile with all my teeth. I don't usually enjoy human women, but there's something about her. Something different. My men scour the area, gathering supplies and double-checking their weapons. I can see them itching to move on, but my gaze keeps returning to the women huddled in the corner of the cage. Their faces are gaunt with deprivation, eyes filled with a somber mix of fear and weariness. The door is open as Wannik and another orc hand out furs, but they don't dare step foot outside it. The one with the intelligent eyes has a fierce beauty, and she watches me closely. She doesn't cower away when I approach, unlike the others. "What's your name?" I ask her gruffly. "Ellen," she answers sharply, holding my gaze. She's unafraid. I like that. "Wannik!" I shout. He whips around. "Sir? Has the area been cleared?" I gaze around, seeing nothing left to pillage. "Yes, sir." He turns expectantly, ready to head back to the camp. "You're in charge of the human transport," I order. "We'll take them back to camp." My men murmur in surprise. "Captain, why waste time on humans?" Wannik asks. "We can just leave them here. They're going to slow us down. Half of them look dead." "Humans just look like that when they haven't had a good meal," I retort, bluster in my voice. "We need bodies to fight the elves, and the god of war has delivered us bodies." Nakik blinks. "These bodies?" I pretend not to notice that most of the women are emaciated, so thin that their cheekbones look as though they might slice through their skin. "We'll feed them and train them to fight." I understand their doubts. This is highly irregular. I hardly understand why I'm doing this either. Maybe one of the elves landed a blow to my head, and I'm too concussed to notice. All I know is that I need to bring these women back to camp, to bring Ellen. "Wannik, grab the wagon." He's large and sturdy enough to pull it along, and it's a measly 8 miles. The Hokeens are better for riding than pulling, and will carry our spoils for us while he takes the wagon. We'll bring it back to camp and celebrate our victory there. My soldiers look skeptical, but they respect me enough not to argue further. Once the women are bundled in furs and fed spare hardtack, we'll begin the journey back to our camp. But before we can start our journey back, Nakik approaches me. "Sir," there's a bite to his words. "There's not enough space." I raise a brow as he inclines his head toward the wagon, now packed with furs and cloaks and food and water skins. He's right. The dark elves pack the women like fish going to a market, one on top of the other, and it looks more than a little uncomfortable. More than a few look nearly dead, and I know I can't leave them like this. I curse, looking at the few mounts we brought with us. "Have some ride with the provisions, and we'll have the healthiest-looking ones ride with us. 2 of you ride back and pack up the rest of our camp. Follow behind, and keep your eyes open. The dark elves aren't likely to forgive this, once they realize how badly they've been slaughtered." My eyes catch on Ellen, the only woman that matters to me in this mess, for reasons I don't entirely understand. "You, come with me." Wrapped in fur, she hesitantly walks towards me. I haul her up on the Hokeen and she muffles a yelp. "Are you injured?" She shakes her head, and I can see that she is unwilling to admit any weakness, and my admiration grows. "Then you'll ride with me." There's no protest. She just stares up at me, almost like she is awaiting orders, and I start toward my mount. She follows after me, keeping up with my long strides, and I hate the way that it heats me. Obedient, brave, and beautiful. What the hell is wrong with me? I stop before the mount and turn to look at her, but I find her eyes not on me. She's looking at the Hokeen, a beast of war, so tall that its back is nearly eye level with me. Its muscular body is covered in a thick hide, resilient enough to deflect an arrow's flight. The Hokeen is a challenging beast to mount, especially for someone as petite as her. "Need a hand?" I ask, my voice low. She shoots me a defiant look. Her eyes, as fierce as ever, meet mine. "I can handle it," she retorts. But even as she says it, I see her eye the beast warily, and I know she's wondering how she can scramble up it. "Let me help," I say. For a moment, she hesitates, her pride wrestling with her. But eventually, she gives in and offers a slight nod. I step up, wrapping my arms around her waist as I prepare to lift her. She's warm against me, her body taut with the effort of holding herself upright. She's weaker than she'll admit. I can't help but savor the moment. The scent of her fills my nostrils, a mix of sweat, blood, and something uniquely her. My heart pounds in my chest, a strange sensation that I haven't felt in a long time. I lift her up with ease, my hands on her waist. For a moment we're locked in a silence, our eyes meeting. There's something there. A spark, a building tension that's more intoxicating than the spoils of war. Then, with a swift movement, I hoist her onto the Hokeen. The beast grunts, shifting from the sudden addition of weight, no matter how little it is. But she quickly gains control, her hands gripping the reins. She looks down at me, her eyes softer now. I recognize the silent appreciation she is shooting toward me. My admiration for her grows, her strength and resilience a testament to her spirit. She's a warrior, through and through. I climb up behind her and tug her close between my legs. The heavy furs cushion my shaft from her ass, but that doesn't do much to dissuade it. "Why are you helping us?" She speaks so quietly I almost don't hear her. Nakik looks to me and I give him a nod. He ushers our group forward and I let the jostling and noise give me a moment to consider the question. It's not our style to travel this slow, and our Hokeens protest at first, wishing to run free. Mine keeps wanting to trot and huffs when I pull up on the reins. I decide not to answer her. I keep my face impassive, pretending that I'm above so much as speaking to a human, but her question fills me with unease. Why am I helping them? I have no idea.
Chapter 6. Ellen. Why are we wasting time on these useless humans? One orc grumbles loudly to his friend as they haul firewood. They'll just slow us down. His friend spits on the ground. If it were up to me, we'd have left them to rot, but the captain gets real soft sometimes. I clench my fists, anger boiling up inside me. We're at their mercy, yet they still look down on us with contempt. I want to scream at them that we never asked to be here, but I know that will only make things worse. Patience has kept me alive this long. For now we've been unchained and left alone, which is better than the elves. Zerdic doesn't seem to allow any abuse, even if his men resent us being here. At least not yet. I'll take grumbling over violence any day. I take a deep breath and look around the camp. Everywhere I look, orcs are hard at work. Many of them chop wood to create more tents, while others patrol the perimeter of the camp. The grass is trampled and the air smells of smoked meat from a nearby cooking fire. The orcs in charge here have set up an efficient camp, and it's clear they know what they're doing. The sun is beginning to set, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and red that reflect off the surrounding water. A cool breeze carries a hint of salt from a nearby beach and brings with it an almost surreal feeling. I can almost forget I'm surrounded by orcs. All I see is beauty and peace for miles around me. It's been a long time since I've been allowed outside long enough to take a good look. The sudden realization hits me like a ton of bricks. My fate might not be as bad as I thought it would be if I'm willing to take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself in this new environment. Here in this orc camp, I have access to fresh food, clean water, and shelter. All things that were inaccessible as a slave in the dark elf Vesperon's harem. I might hate orcs, but so far we were being treated better than we were with the elves. I turn my attention to the leader, Zerdic as I've heard others call him. Gathering my courage, I stride towards the orc leader, each step pushing back the tendrils of fear attempting to coil around my heart. His presence is overwhelming, like a mountain looming over a small village, yet I force myself to keep my gaze steady, my posture confident. "Zerdic," I call out, my voice stronger than I feel. The orc leader turns his attention towards me, his piercing gaze scrutinizing my figure. His gaze is intense, but I stand my ground, returning his stare with a firm one of my own. "I offer a proposition," I begin, my voice steady. "My people are skilled in the art of cooking. We can prepare a feast for your orcs. if you provide us with some food." A moment of silence follows, his eyes narrowing slightly as he considers my offer. I keep my breath steady, waiting for his response. Just when I think he's going to refuse, his lips curl into a small grin. Zerdic's eyes narrow. And why should I trust humans to prepare our food? I stand tall, refusing to show any weakness. "We only wish to express our gratitude by being useful, and to be blunt, your men look like they could use a decent hot meal." That elicits a bark of laughter from Zerdic. He studies me with new interest. "I like your courage, human." His deep voice rumbles, filled with a hint of genuine respect. "We have a successful raid today, and a feast sounds good. I'll give you access to our supplies. Take what you need." Then he adds, "But if you try anything, there will be consequences." Relief sweeps over me, my heart pounding with the thrill of success. I nod, offering him a grateful smile. "Thank you, Zerdic. You won't be disappointed." As I turn to leave, I can't help but feel a strange sense of accomplishment. I have successfully negotiated with an orc, a feat many would deem impossible. Maybe this won't be so bad. Soon we're bustling about the cook fire, under Zerdic's watchful eye. The orcs grumble at first when their leader offers us knives and ingredients. But as the rich smells of simmering stew and fresh bread fill the air, their doubts seem to evaporate. As we continue cooking, more orcs appear from their tents or patrol duty to join us by the fire. Some bring chairs to sit around it, while others just stand there watching in awe as we cook their meals from scratch. I can feel their eyes boring into me as I add more salt or stir one of the pots with practiced ease. They seem impressed with my ability to create delicious meals out of seemingly nothing, an art that I had learned long ago when my parents were still alive. The tantalizing aroma fills the air as the final touches are put on the meal. The once raw and unappetizing ingredients have transformed into a feast fit for kings, or in this case, orcs. I wipe the sweat off my brow, taking a moment to appreciate the successful preparation. Soon, dinner is ready. As I step back from the cooking fire, Zerdic approaches, his heavy footsteps echoing in the silence. He surveys the spread, a low grunt of approval escaping his lips. His eyes meet mine, a spark of respect in his gaze. "Good work," he rumbles, his deep voice echoing through the encampment. "Thank you, Zerdic," I say, a sense of pride swelling within me. He turns towards the gathering crowd, his imposing figure silhouetted against the flickering firelight. Raising his hands, he commands their attention. "Gather round, brothers," he bellows, his voice carrying across the encampment. "The feast is ready." There's a collective cheer from the orcs. They approach the food, their eager eyes scanning the spread. "Help yourselves," Zerdic says, his gaze sweeping over his kin. With that, the orcs descend upon the food. The air is filled with the sound of laughter and cheers, the earlier tension melting away with each bite. As I watch them eat, I can't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. I've not only cooked for orcs, but they seem to be enjoying it as well. As the orcs dig into our labours, I pause in trepidation. Zerdic had promised that we too were allowed to eat, but apprehension still runs through me at the thought of helping myself to food from the orcs. Is this a trick? It is obvious from looking around that the girls and I feel the same uncertainty. We are accustomed to only getting crumbs from the elves. Suddenly, Zerdic's deep voice booms out over the camp. "Eat!" he barks. The girls and I jump in surprise, fear coursing through our veins. "Yet," Zerdic insists, "if you are going to cook for us, then you should also eat. There is no point in working hard and not getting nourishment." He pointedly gestures towards the pile of food he has set aside for us, and my heart leaps a little bit. I eagerly grab a plate and begin piling it high with whatever I can find. Warm bread, roasted vegetables, and chunks of steaming meat. For the first time in what feels like forever, I am able to savour every single bite with relish. Tears sting my eyes as I take my first real meal since being enslaved. As we eat in silence, enjoying every morsel of the food before us, I feel myself slowly warming to Zerdic. I can't help but be surprised at the kindness of this orc. Here is an enemy I have been trained to fear, yet he has saved us and is now letting us feed at will. As I eat, I notice the orcs watching us in amusement as we devour every morsel of food. I try to ignore it, focusing instead on relishing every single bite before me. When I finally finish, I look up and see Zerdic watching me, and when I stand to clean, his eyes follow me still. Is he waiting for me to make some sort of mistake? To punish me? Part of me still feels as if escaping the dark elves is too good to be true. What if this is just another prison?
Chapter 7. Zerdic. I sigh and run my hands along the walls of my tent, feeling the grainy texture and smelling the mustiness as I settle in for the night. My mind drifts to Ellen, her brown hair hanging down her back in shiny waves. I still worry that bringing the women will add more work and conflict to an already difficult situation. Even though they have already shown some use with their cooking, I've noticed some of the orcs eyeing them. I'm waiting for fights to break out over these women, and part of me already regrets my decision to bring them here. But the rest of me, the majority, can't keep my eyes off Elin. I watched her move around the camp all afternoon, my eyes drawn to the subtle curve of her hips that I'm sure will fill out, and the gentle sway of her hair as she walked. Whenever she turned to look at me, which I noticed she would seek me out, my breath would catch at the intensity of her gaze. I lay in bed, my thoughts completely consumed by Elin. My heart quickens as I imagine her standing beside me, looking at me with those eyes that see everything. With each passing moment, I feel an insatiable longing to drag her into my tent. I can hardly believe it. It makes no sense. I've never wanted anyone like this before, much less a human. She's skinnier than a damned bird, I tell myself out loud, but my shaft strains insistently towards the top of my tent, calling me a liar. I've been obsessed with the promise of her curves since her ass was pressed against me on the way here. Humans are treacherous, I tell my shaft. Evil. They're lying cowards who will say anything and do anything just to survive one more day, as if slavery is some sort of life. My shaft doesn't care. This is ridiculous, I say aloud. I can't risk the respect of my men like this. The meal might have won them over a bit, but once we're in the middle of a real fight with a flock of women hanging around our necks like an anchor, the grumbling will be back. We might lose lives over it. This is possibly the dumbest tactical decision I've ever made in my entire life. I can't stop imagining her in my tent. I lay in bed, my thoughts completely consumed by Ellen. My heart quickens as I imagine her standing beside me, looking at me with those eyes that see everything. With each passing moment, I feel an insatiable longing to drag her into my tent. I can hardly believe it. It makes no sense. I've never wanted anyone like this before, much less a human. I'm also aware that I'm indulging in my own cowardice. She's human. That means she's got no magic to offer. She's already tried to kill me once. She doesn't love me. She doesn't even like me. I'm a monster when I take my form. She'd be terrified by what I look like when I'm in dragon form. Hell, I'm terrified of what I look like. I don't deserve her. You're a coward, I tell myself. Thanks for reading Orcs Fire. Unfortunately, this portion of the chapter is too hot for YouTube to handle. Head on over to worldsofprotheka.com and use code YouTube30 for a great deal on all the unabridged, delicious details. Now back to our story. Rosenfire. Our family holds great weight and power in Orthani, and yet I hear whispers.
Do you think he can take him?
There is no way that this could happen.
No, more books. I can't remain locked in this ivory tower a moment longer.
She's perfect. The Baron's daughter must be found.
Julius, we shouldn't.
Why shouldn't we?
I am not a full dark elf. I do not possess their ethereal beauty. How will I find a mate?
The lowly barren son apparently has shown that he has the same gift of fire-wielding as I, if not stronger.
I am the family's dirty little secret. I am not the future of the family. Dukan is.
This world was created from a seed of evil.
I propose we take Dukan out of the picture, permanently.
Please, let me go.
If you want to join the poor humans who are bought and sold in the markets on a daily basis, you will find a way to get there.
I am free, and I am terrified.
You will never escape me.
I can try.
You will fail. Get seasons 1 and 2 of the Dark Elf series from worldsofprotheka.com.
Protheka's magic is eternal. This series will show you why. Chapter 8. Ellen. This is so good. Lily's voice is muffled by her mouth full of food. She takes another spoonful of the stew. It's the third day I've cooked for everyone, and I'm starting to feel better. Not just because I'm finally eating, though that has helped a lot, but I have a purpose. Good food, Ellen. A deep, rumbly voice follows the tall, stocky orc body walking up to me. I feel a smile spreading across my face. I quickly wipe it away as I remember who just said that to me. My disdain for orcs still lingers. I don't really want to be here, though they let us eat at least. I nod at the orc, trying my best to hide the discomfort that is bubbling up inside me. I am a human in an orc's encampment. It's not uncommon, but it's still an uneasy experience. I'm here for a purpose, and I will not let their prejudices affect me. Thank you. The words leave my mouth as a small smirk rises to the orc's face. For a human, at least, he adds smugly before placing his large hand on the top of my head. Childishly ruffling my hair, the orc walks back over to a few others, leaving me to quickly fix it with a frown. I don't even know why they took us from the Dark Elves. I heard how they talked about us on the trip back here. They think we're weak and useless. I take another bite of the stew, savouring the flavour as I let my mind wander. I can't stay here forever. Eventually I need to find a way out. But for now, I'll just have to make do with what I have. As I finish my meal, I glance around the group, taking in the scene before me. The orcs are all gathered here, eating and drinking, laughing and joking with one another. It's a strange sight, seeing these large, intimidating creatures in such a relaxed state. But then again, I suppose I shouldn't be all that surprised. After all, they did just finish a successful raid on the Dark Elves. Maybe they can do more with my help. Where is Zerdic? I look around the encampment. The bustle of everyday movement makes it hard, but I'm almost certain I don't spot him anywhere. There's a group of orcs training off in the distance, the clatter of their weapons against armour filling the air with noise. I excuse myself from the table, grabbing a small hunk of bread as I make my way towards the training area. The orcs are in a flurry, their movements precise and deadly. Sweat glistens on their skin, and I can hear their grunts and growls as they work through their exercises. The noise picks up as I walk closer, the commotion of practice becoming better discernible through everyone moving. Still not here. I watch the fighting for a few minutes, my eyes only getting dragged away by a chorus of laughter from the group I just left. I don't understand how everyone's merging so well. Orcs shouldn't be trusted. That's what we've always been told. A grunt of pain pulls me back out of my thoughts, and an orc kneels in front of me with a huff. The one who struck him stands for a moment, before holding out a hand of solidarity and pulling the former back up to standing. They're more polite than I imagined, at least to each other. I shake my head, trying to dispel the thoughts that had crept up on me. I'm here for a reason. I can't let myself get comfortable. I take a deep breath and step forward, making my presence known to the orcs. They stop their training, their eyes all trained on me like I'm a foreign object, which in a way I am. A human in the midst of an orc training ground, never mind a female human. "Excuse me," I call out, my voice carrying over the sounds of the training. "Has anyone seen Zerdic?" "Why are you looking for him?" One of the orcs speaks up, his axe blade hanging in his hand. "I had a question about ingredients for dinner tomorrow night," I lie. "He's probably in his tent. Can we get back to training, please?" Another orc speaks up. His tone is polite, but firm. I nod quickly and take a few steps backwards. As I turn around to head towards Zerdic's tent, I can feel their eyes still staring at my back. But I ignore the feeling and continue to walk, my steps quickening with each passing second. I don't know if I can trust orcs, but something tells me that I can trust Zerdic, at least when it comes to killing dark elves. Maybe they can both get to work murdering each other and leave humans alone while they sort it out. I walk toward the housing tents, most of the torches out and tent doors draped closed. One has a flickering of light from under the cloth tent. This must be his. I take a step forward, toward the tent, but a firm hand claps down on my shoulder. "Ellen, are you lost?" an orc's voice asks. I turn around to see the same orc who ruffled my hair earlier. He towers over me, but his eyes are gentle. "No, I'm not lost. I'm just looking for Zerdic," I say, my voice soft. "I see. And why do you need to speak with him?" The orc crosses his arms, his biceps bulging. "I need to talk to him about supplies," I say, hoping that my words will be enough to convince him to let me go. The orc studies me for a moment, his eyes scanning my face as if looking for any signs of deceit. Then he nods. "Very well, but I will accompany you," he says, gesturing for me to lead the way. I nod, pretending to be grateful for his company. The orcs treat us better than the elves ever did, but I'm still always on guard. Together, he guides me to Zerdic's tent. The light flickering under the tent grows brighter as we approach. "Let me go in first," he offers, and I open my mouth to say no. He adds quickly after, "It's a security issue." The orc slips into the tent, and I can hear his muffled voice as he talks to Zerdic. My heart races as I wait outside, fidgeting. Finally, the orc emerges from the tent and nods his head, signalling for me to enter.
Chapter 9. Zerdic. I lay back on my bed, surrounded by the walls of thick canvas fabric and wooden poles that make up my tent. The evening air rolls in around me, carrying the scent of wood smoke from the nearby bonfire. I needed a break. Being around Ellen for too long does something to me I'm not ready to face, despite the amount of times I've drained myself to the thought of her. In just my simple trousers, I edge out of bed and shuffle towards the corner of my tent that serves as my makeshift workstation. My desk towers up from the gloom of the military camp, a simple structure, easy to transport even if it's nothing much to look at, with tactical maps and troop dispatches spread over its top. The sunlight streaming through the tent flap lets me know that I don't have much time to myself to contemplate our uncertain future. The maps don't paint a very pretty picture. Orc clans are being pushed south so quickly that it's almost impossible to maintain a supply line. All the elf gold in the world won't help us if we don't get a chance to spend it. As much success as the Warband clan have had in driving the dark elves back, it's only because we've been fielding successful ambushes. "How are you idiots still using magic?" I ask the map. The map doesn't answer. I push away from the desk and pace. I ought to eat breakfast, but if I do, I know I'll see Ellen ladling some sort of stew into a bowl. It's almost humiliating how rapidly just the sight of her gets me hard. Maybe I'll hit the training fields instead. "Sir?" Naki clears his throat outside the tent, and I order him inside. And the way he's eyeing me, I realize he's come to check up on me. "Are you okay? You've been inside a lot lately." I force a smile, replying without hesitation. "I'm fine, just crunching some numbers." His eyes lock with mine for a second longer than necessary before he asks, "What are we going to do from here? More raids?" It's a question I've asked myself. We need to join up with the larger forces if we want to do any real damage. I promise we'll chat over dinner, I reassure them. Those dark elves will get what's coming to them, I promise you that. He shifts with fingers laced behind his back. His voice carries the weight of authority despite its youthfulness. "And what about our new friends? What's your strategy with them?" His eyes scan me carefully. My jaw clenches and my fists tighten as I fight to hide my exasperation. We can't risk our men's morale failing, so I have no choice. Put the recruits to work. We already have a few helping cook. Have the rest gather supplies, I say. War is usually a pleasure. Now I have to play nanny to a group of human women. He nods but doesn't say anything more. I know I should press him, see what he wants, or dismiss him. And yet I have other matters on my mind, trying to take over. Matters even more tempting than glory on the battlefield. No matter how hard I strive to concentrate on war plans, my mind keeps drifting back to Ellen. The way she acts so timid around any of us orcs, but assumes command when it comes to the other women we have liberated. The way her body sways as she diligently prepares meals. I've noticed the way surprise flits across her face when I order her to eat as well. Shock, disbelief, and caution blending. She carefully piles some vegetables onto her plate, eyes darting around to make sure no one's watching, as though insisting she feed herself is some sort of ploy. When an orc strides by, she tenses up, knuckles turning white as her fingers clench the spoon like a shield. I can tell that she never takes more than just the bare minimum for herself, always making sure there's enough for the other women too. Most nights I sleep well as long as I'm not on watch. Since she's come here, I've spent the nights tossing and turning, restless. It's like I'm going mad. I push the thoughts away, hating that Nakic has been standing here watching me. "Why are you still here?" I snap. His eyes narrow. "A human wishes to speak with you." My muscles tense. "Why? Do they know something?" I nod. "Send them in." He ducks out with little more conversation, and I wait tensely to see who it is. The flaps to my tent whip open, a bitter chill flooding in. Elin stands outside with Nakic at her side, her dark brown hair dancing in the wind like dark flames. Her gaze burns into me, and I know immediately that she's here for something important. She's the last person I want to see. She's the only person I want to see. Nakic ushers her in, the flap falling behind her, and it makes it hard to think straight. I growl, "What do you want?" I can feel my jaw clench and my fists tighten. She shrinks away from me as if trying to hide behind the fear in her eyes. Regret hangs thick around us like a fog, so I make an effort to relax. I don't mean to snap at her. Ellen rings her fingers together nervously, her gaze glued to the ground. She keeps taking deep breaths as if steeling herself for something. But I'm not prepared for what she says.
Chapter 10. Ellen. "What do you want?" Zerdic barks at me. I take a slight step backward, feeling the tent keeping me in as a squeak of nervousness to slip out. At least with the dark elves I knew what to expect. The aggression feels so out of nowhere here, Zerdic being nothing but polite to me before this moment. Have I read his intentions wrong? I try to take a deep breath, to steady myself, but my lungs feel tight, and my vision blurs at the edges. I think he notices my panic. His tight-knit, furrowed brows relax as he lets out a rough sigh. "Sorry, what do you need?" He asks the question again, a lot nicer than the first time. I swallow thickly, feeling the rumble of the orc behind me as he laughs. Asshole. I regret wanting to help the orcs, but the genuine apology written on Zerdic's face keeps me from storming out of the tent and keeping the dark elves' secrets to myself. They can't hurt us if they're killing each other. "I have information on the dark elves. It's important." Zerdic's expression becomes serious, and he stands swiftly. Looking from me to the orc behind me, he raises one hand and shoos off his guard. "Take your leave for now. I'd like to talk to Ellen alone," Zerdic orders the man. I hear a grumbled "yes, sir" from behind and feel the rush of cold air as the orc leaves and the tent fabric falls back into place. The orc grunts before lumbering away, leaving Zerdic and I alone. Unconsciously, I take a small step backward. The tent feels much smaller with the other orc gone. Zerdic beckons me forward, and I step closer, keeping my eyes trained on his. His gaze is intense, cutting through me like a knife. "What kind of information?" he asks, his voice low and rough. I can feel the heat emanating from his body, and my skin prickles with goosebumps. There's something about him that's both terrifying and alluring, and I can't help but feel drawn to him. Zerdic's intense gaze falls on me, and I can feel the heat rising to my cheeks. I try to steady my breathing and push away the fear that's clutching at my heart. I remind myself that I've come this far, and I can't back down now. I take a deep breath and begin to speak. The elves have a stone. I've only seen it once, but it has to be what they're using to open a portal to Earth. It draws on Protheka's magic to let them through. Zerdic's eyes widen in surprise. "That's quite the claim you're making, Ellen. How do they use it here, though? There's no magic." "It gives them enough magic to recharge when their magic on Earth begins to deplete." I finish my explanation and watch as Zerdic's face twists into a scowl. "Magic against the orcs? They're already at an advantage with their technology and weaponry," he mutters, pacing back and forth. "Join the club." Part of me wants to tell him that's exactly how humans felt when orcs came to this world and dominated it. I know. I watch as he paces, my arms coming up to hug close to my body. He seems tense, but relieved to have at least an answer to all of this. As he continues to pace, I can't help but notice how different he is from the other orcs I've encountered. There's a certain charisma about him, a raw power that emanates from his every movement. I wonder what he must be like in battle. I remember hearing the dark elves shriek in sheer terror as his men slaughtered them. It was the first time I'd ever heard a dark elf sound afraid. But my thoughts are interrupted as Zerdic suddenly stops pacing and turns to look at me once again. His eyes fixate on my body. I feel a flush of heat rush through me as his gaze lingers on my curves, and my heart starts to race as I realise what he wants. Then I remember a conversation I had overheard from the kitchen when I was the dark elves' captive. On the other side of the door, two dark elves speak in arrogant, loud tones. They aren't keeping a secret from anyone. My mind is blank as I scrub down the wooden table after dinner. "It's a shame we can't have a little fun while we're here," one of them says, a smirk on his face. "What do you mean?" the other asks. "I mean with the human girl. She's quite the looker, don't you think? I'd love to have a go at her." "Tsk, tsk. We have a job to do, and I bet she's as loose as any other human slut." "Good looking out," the third voice rings out. "Are you sure we have to go back to that crap hole?" the lighter, feminine voice asks. A male voice chuckles, and I hear the placement of a glass on the ornately carved table in the dining room. "That's where the other Dawnstone is. Plus I'll take any chance I can get to knock out a couple of those disgusting pigs inhabiting that planet." The woman laughs. "With the power we'll have, we can slaughter the whole race. Put an end to those grubby warriors. The plague on Earth will be eradicated." The clink of two glasses clattering rings out muffled, and I hear the dining room door open as a snide voice calls out, "Ellen, are you not done with that yet? Useless you are." The elongated silence fills Zerdic's tent, and I'm shot back to the present moment. I glance up at the orc's eyes, and he looks to me as if I've just gotten hurt. "Everything all right?" he asks. Yes, I'm fine." I murmur, thinking over the meaning of what the dark elf had said. I have to tell him. "Good. Very good. We'll discuss this further in my tent tonight." after the sun sets. Zerdic turns to leave, but not before suddenly turning back to me and giving me a rough pat on the back. "Thank you for the information." "Wait!" I grab his arm, a movement not of my conscious body. I quickly drop my hands, and he tilts his head as he looks down at me. "What is it?" I avoid eye contact, speaking softly. "The stone has a twin somewhere on Earth. They're trying to find it." I swallow. Once they do, they think they'll be powerful enough to destroy all the orcs that remain. The rush of air is hot against my face, my cheeks warming from the heat. I glance up at the orc, and his face is red hot. His hands are clenching and releasing, and his spine is stiff as he turns his back to me. He shakes his head slowly. "They won't get the chance." I nod. I'm not sure that's the best answer, but I'm not sure what Zerdic intends to do. His voice is dangerous, and it sends chills down my sore spine. I'm suddenly glad this man I just met was placed in charge.
Chapter 11. Zerdic. What Ellen has just told me is devastating news. The fact that they have this kind of power and are planning on using it could completely wipe us out. The war would be over, and we would most definitely lose. I force myself to shrug. We've handled their kind before. Some stones are nothing my warriors cannot overcome. Oh, I see. I look at Ellen and notice the disappointment on her face. She probably wanted this information to turn the tide against the beasts who held her captive, and I don't blame her for that. But I can't afford to look weak, afraid, especially not in front of a human. I look away because I cannot bear to look her straight in the eyes, as she will hypnotize me with her lovely eyes. She is so beautiful. It would be foolish of me to fall at the hands of a human due to weakness, especially when I can't afford the distraction. But I cannot help feeling warm when around her. I force myself to tear my gaze away from Elan's hypnotic green eyes, which shine like sunlit leaves in the dim firelight of my command tent. Looking at her too long is like staring directly at the sun, dangerous and liable to blind a man to reason. I clench my jaw, struggling to shore up the cracks forming in my usually disciplined control. Since the moment I laid eyes on this slender human female among the other rescued slaves, she has plagued me. I brace my palms on the rough-hewn table, welcoming the bite of wood into calloused skin as I hunch over the maps and battle plans. If I can't look at her without wanting more, then I simply won't look at her. Problem solved. I don't think about the graceful turn of her neck as she cooked over campfires for my men, coaxing weary smiles from them, or how her cunning eyes have captivated me from the start. My breath catches. Ellen has entangled herself in the very fabric of my mind in mere days. I drag a rough palm down my face. By the god of war's bloody axe, when did this slip of a girl turn me halfway inside out? It's those luminous eyes of hers. They pierce straight through me, bearing everything. All the fortifications erected after too many betrayals over hard decades seem to crumble in her presence. It would be laughable if it weren't so appalling. Me, wanting a human like this. If my men knew, they'd mock me straight out of camp. I brace rigid arms on the table once more, head bowed. But keeping Ellen at a distance proves as impossible as cooling flowing lava, and just as dangerous. Despite my misgivings, this perplexing attraction burns on. A roar of raucous laughter and loud voices erupts from outside, shattering the tense atmosphere in the tent. I startle, snapping out of my swirling thoughts about the devastating news Ellen has delivered. What is that chaotic commotion? Such careless noise risks giving away our position within enemy territory. I narrow my eyes. Surely my warriors know better than to let discipline slip. I surge to my feet, battle-honed muscles tensing, pulse quickening with a rush of alarm. "Stay here," I order Ellen gruffly. I sweep a look over her willowy frame, clad in a simple tunic. She seems startlingly exposed and vulnerable. I can't have her getting caught up in whatever disruption is unfolding outside. She opens her full lips to argue, emerald eyes flashing. But I don't give her the chance. I'm already pushing through the tent flaps out into disorganized chaos, hand tightening around the haft of my sheathed axe. The sight that greets me steals the breath from my lungs. The clearing has transformed into a bawdy festival ground. Many of my warriors and all of the newly freed human slave women are strewn around the outskirts of the forest camp, utterly drunk on rich, honey-colored wine. They must have raided the stores from the just-ambushed elf transport. Some are trying and failing to climb trees, scraping fists and forearms raw to reach tempting wild fruit, oblivious to security risks. Others are playing makeshift instruments fashioned from sticks and logs, bellowing discordant victory songs. More yet are attempting battle reenactments with exaggerated swooning motions, or dancing wildly with skirts hitched up to their thighs, lost in drunken victory euphoria. As I take in the ridiculous scene unfolding around crackling campfires, panic rises in my chest until I can scarcely draw breath. While I encourage victory celebrations, we don't need to give away our position with vicious dark elf forces near bent on utter genocide of our people. And yet, here my soldiers carouse like overindulged children at a county fair. Do they understand nothing of the devastation the elves could unleash at any moment? That we must keep a low profile or risk swift annihilation? I squeeze my eyes shut, the sting of smoke and dynamic chaos agitating my senses. How can I make them comprehend the knife's edge we walk? While today was successful, we still have a lot to come, and they are acting too careless. If we were attacked, half of them would be useless, and we can't have that in a war camp. When I open my eyes, I stand tall to my full towering height, shoulders thrown back, exuding the authority of a seasoned war chieftain. I fill my lungs with smoke-tinged air and roar, "Enough of this foolishness." My bellowing voice slices through the chaos like an axe blade through sapling trees. The grating laughter instantly dies. Every flushed, sweat-sheened face swivels my way, eyes wide with surprise at my sudden appearance. I cross my arms over my broad chest, stance planted, uncaring if they dislike my harsh tone. Results matter more than popularity when our people's survival hangs by a thread. "You will give away our position," I thunder, sweeping an accusing glare from one glassy-eyed face to the next. "You have seen how ruthless our raids are. Do you not think they will come after us with a vengeance once they pinpoint who has slaughtered their men and stole their goods? They will show no mercy when they find us. And make no mistake, if you continue carrying on as if at a spring festival, they will find us." I pause for my warning to sink in, letting the silence swell. The warriors stare, slack-faced. Many warriors' marks tracking their bared arms and necks seem to stand out in stark relief, glinting blood red in the firelight. At last I continue, voice a low, dangerous rumble. "Return to your duties immediately, before your rash stupidity becomes our doom." I slam my fist against my palm for emphasis, the smack echoing like the crack of old bone. This whole camp can't be left on alert. Shoulders slump in shame beneath my harsh pronouncement as the chastised group begins to shuffle and disperse in silence. Their buzz thoroughly killed, the reckless revelers fade into the darkness between tents like ghosts. I feel no satisfaction at having crushed their spirits, along with their carelessness. Their security is my responsibility, as is navigating whatever comes next. I catch Ellen's eye, where she hovers anxiously by my tent. "As you warn, the elves have fearsome powers. We will not underestimate them," I say. "If they discover us, they will show no mercy. We must vanish like smoke until we are ready to strike back."
Chapter 12. Ellen. Zerdic spins and stalks back into his tent without a word to me. I don't much feel like talking to him anyways. I watch as the orcs grab the remaining wine and quickly retreat. I stand there dumbfounded, watching as the orcs quickly disperse back to their tents. Their once loud laughter now silenced, leaving behind an eerie sense of uneasiness. The atmosphere has changed drastically. The noise of merriment has been replaced with silence and unease. I sigh heavily as I take in the mess that has been left behind. It seems like the orcs had been having a good time, but now have caused a great deal of destruction in their wake. I start picking up the pieces of broken glass and discarded cups, silently going about my task with a heavy heart. The girls seem to be taking it hard too, although they all try to hide their feelings beneath stoic masks. We work together without any words being spoken, cleaning up the mess created by the orcs. I can feel all of our collective sadness in this moment, but no one speaks of it. The girls who were so full of life moments ago now stand solemnly, shoulders drooping as we finish cleaning up the mess they made. It feels wrong to do this when we should be celebrating a moment of joy in what had been so much sadness and despair. One of the girls, Alicia, balls her fists and throws down her cloth in frustration. "Look at us, cleaning up their mess. It's like we're still slaves here." I can't help but agree with Alicia's outburst. It feels wrong to be made to clean up the mess while the orcs get away unscathed, off to continue their merriment in the privacy of their own tents. I know it wasn't their fault. Zerdic had scolded them and put an end to it all, but still I feel indignant on behalf of all of us. Mutterings and grumbles begin to echo around the group. Some complain that the orcs want to train them up for the slaughter, to use us as expendable soldiers in their war. We are not warriors, and yet the orcs will force us onto the battlefield to prove some use. Others worry about having to travel with the orcs. The conversation turns to the implications of travelling with the orcs. We are all frightened of what may await us in the lands beyond our own. Are they treacherous? Will they only use us as bodies to throw at the dark elves in battle? We can't help but worry what our fate will be if we are forced to accompany them on their travels. Some of the girls begin to weep, overwhelmed by fear and uncertainty. I take a deep breath, trying to remain calm and composed despite my own anxiety. We all need each other. We must stay strong for each other if we are going to make it through this ordeal. I hear some whispers about getting revenge on the dark elves for what they did to us. I fear that all this talk will lead only to more trouble for us, as these girls are no warriors. I fear that the only thing they will accomplish is getting killed. I sit alone, listening, thinking. For so long, life has been separated into before and after being a slave. Before held treasured memories, the sound of laughter when playing with my siblings, the warmth of hugs from my parents, the grief that comes from losing a family. After held only pain and fear and sorrow. I didn't think we would ever make it out. Now I have a new chance at life because of orcs. I've hated orcs for so long. I've feared them. Now I can't help but feel a small sense of gratitude. They've given us a chance to be free and live our own lives. Even if it's only under the watchful eye of their leader, we're finally able to enjoy some semblance of freedom after so many years of suffering in bondage. Still, there is a part of me that feels uneasy about our new situation. We are beholden to the orcs for our freedom. We owe them a debt that can never truly be repaid. We are no match for orcs in battle and frankly have nothing to offer them except ourselves as pawns in their games. However, Zerdic, he frustrates me, yes, but there's something intriguing about him. He has a commanding presence and seems so gruff. He shut down the fun his men and the girls were having, but he also saved us and is now protecting and taking care of us. Would he really harm us in such a way? Normally I'd say of course. I have enough trouble trusting humans. Trusting orcs is completely out of the question. I hate them. At least, I used to hate them. I don't know if I can say that I hate orcs anymore. It's a terrifying thought. It has been one of my constants, and now it's disappearing. But there's something about Zerdic that's just different. It's fascinating. I want to know more about him. He isn't the typical brute I expected. There's something about that draws me in. I want to know more about him and what makes him tick.
There comes a time when you must sacrifice everything for something bigger than yourself.
My job was to kidnap her, not fall in love with her.
What if Julius had seen me use magic? He must never know.
What's happening to me? What's happening to my magic?
He would never understand. He'd see me as a liability, a risk too great to keep close.
When everything begins to fall apart, and the only remedy is to sacrifice your heart.
No, I can't let him find out.
I propose we take Dukan out of the picture, permanently.
Please, don't do this.
You will never escape me.
I can try.
You will fail.
And that time is now.
Savannah, run! Chapter 13. Zerdic. The peace and quiet of the campground replaces the energy of the festivities from the night before. I am now alone in my tent as I think about the joyous occasion that occurred only a day ago. Everyone seemed to be in an incredibly good mood. There was singing, laughter, and dancing around the campfire in celebration. But I can't help feeling a sense of guilt and dread. Everyone had been so happy. I know the cost of such frivolities will be paid the next morning. My men are ill-prepared for any kind of battle or attack, with their senses dulled by drink and fatigue. I know I have to do something to reinvigorate them, to restore their readiness, but I cannot think of a solution. I wish I could find some kind of inspiration, something to give me the strength to lead my men as they deserve. But I can only sit and wait for the morning. Before the morning sun rises, however, I am granted a moment of clarity. I realize that my men will never be ready if I do not show them that I am ready first. I must be the one to show them strength and courage, even in the face of danger. I have to be the leader they need me to be, the one who leads by example. As the sun crests over the horizon, marking a new day, I am reminded again about the stones that Ellen had told me about. The Dawn Stones. If such a thing truly exists as she described them, then perhaps there was hope for our war efforts yet, because we know about them now. If the Dark Elves can use them, can we? We're already winning decisive victories, even if we must do so in the shadows. If orcs could use the same powers, the elves would be gone from this planet in a fortnight. Maybe less. I can't keep this information to myself. The chieftains should be made aware. Old Malik, at the very least, should be notified. As my mind settles on that matter, I feel my thoughts wander elsewhere, and the name of that human woman, Ellen, lingers at the edge of my mind. I shake my head to clear it from any images or thoughts that may betray me. I gather myself and my things and leave my tent. As I leave, the sunrise greets me first. The air is cold, but not unwelcome. The crisp feeling will be good to sober the men up quickly. I make my way towards the campfire and find that a few of them are already out and about, but most still seem to be sleeping. Once everyone is awake, I give orders for half of the group to gather weapons and supplies, while the rest prepare breakfast and begin packing up the campsite. I make my way to the center of camp, where the fire had burned long into the night. A few of the men are already stirring, but not enough. "You orcs," I command. "The sky awakens before you do. Get up and break this camp down. The lot of you had your fun last night. Now get back to work." A few grumble in response, but soon enough they all set to work, gathering their belongings and packing them away into backpacks and bedrolls. I stride to the center of the campsite and bellow, "On your feet, men! The night is done and there is much work ahead." Groans and grumbles arise from the sleeping forms around me. I kick the bottom of a nearby bedroll. "Rise and shine! Get that fire going again!" I turn and shout, "You! Gather your hunting party and secure provisions for our march home!" The orc blinks blearily at me. "But you said we still needed one more raid." "And now I say we're leaving," I snap. "Half of you lot, gather weapons and supplies. The rest will ready breakfast and break down the camp. Anyone not moving in 5 minutes gets latrine duty for a week." That gets them stirring. I nod in satisfaction as my band slowly comes alive, the drumbeat of activity beginning. As I move through the camp, my eyes search for any signs of weakness. I examine the men carefully, noting their movements and reactions to my words. Some are sluggish, still drowsy from the night's rest, while others seem alert and ready for the day ahead. As I make my way to the far side of camp, one of my men stops me. "Zerdic, sir," he hesitantly says. "I believe Hydus is missing." "What do you mean missing?" I demand. "Nobody has seen him since last night," the man replies quietly. I silently nod and survey the rest of the camp. He might have drunkenly wandered into the woods. Our camp is too small for someone to truly go missing for long. "Listen up, everyone," I shout. "One of our men is missing. Hydus. We need to search for him. Women, don't just stand there. Get searching too. I want every nook and cranny checked out before we all hit the road." The men nodded in unison and started their hunt for their lost comrade. The women take part too, organizing among themselves into teams and combing through every inch of the camp. Our efforts form a wave of search, with each person scanning the area closest to them carefully. The hunt for Hydus has now started in earnest. Soon, one of the women shouts out in triumph from the fringe of camp. "I think I've stumbled upon something," she exclaims, and leads us all to a small clearing among trees. And there we discover Hydus, sleeping serenely on a bed made from foliage and sticks. I'm flooded with relief as I take a few steps towards him to wake him up. As I near the makeshift bed, it becomes clear that Hydus isn't alone. One of the women from our camp is with him, her hair disheveled and her clothes in a tangled mess, a telltale sign of an evening spent full of excitement and pleasure. The smile on her face tells the same story, a story full of joy and satisfaction. "Hydus!" I yell. He awakes with a stir, shaking both himself and the frail woman beside him. As soon as he realizes his whereabouts and registers my presence standing over him, he clambers to his feet. "Get yourself together and go help the others break down camp." He nods and leaves back to the center of camp. I'm left with only the woman, whose eyes fall onto me with a vapid gaze. "You too. Go find one of the other women and go." I wave my hand in the air to make up for my lack of words. "Just go back and get cleaned up." Despite my scolding of Hydus and the girl, I can't help but feel a twinge of envy in my heart. I know why too, and quickly the feeling of envy turns into anger, mostly at myself. As the woman stumbles off, I take a deep breath, trying to push down the feeling of longing that has suddenly taken over. I should not be feeling this way, and yet my thoughts continue to betray me. As I stand here, I look back down to where the two had shared their passionate night, and an image of Ellen and I take their place. In anger, I kick apart the makeshift bed. I know that these kinds of relationships are common in our world, especially when life is so uncertain. However, I have always been one to avoid them, believing that emotions only get in the way of survival. As I walk back towards our campsite, I can't help but wonder what it would be like to give in to those desires, to let myself be swept up in a moment of passion and pleasure. It's a dangerous line to walk, I know, but there is something tempting about the freedom of letting go.
Chapter 14. Ellen. "I can't believe it," Lily hisses to my right. We're leading our small group back to the camp, and I shake my head along with her. The orcs were too busy frantically searching for their fellow soldier that they either didn't notice or didn't care when the small group of us joined together. They hadn't noticed that one of us was missing, and I doubted they were going to look for her. But when we spotted her with that orc from a distance, Zerdic reprimanding them both, I was stunned. A human with an orc. They looked like they had just woken up, and while embarrassed, both were fine. "I know," I hissed under my breath. "You don't think they all will start expecting—" "They better not!" Lily shrieks. "That is not what I'm here for." I chuckle under my breath as my stomach flips. I hope not. We cross into the camp after the orcs, and I know that most of us are going to start preparing for tonight's dinner. Or we would, but an orc steps in my way. "Excuse me," I snap as I try to step around him, but he stays in my path. "Nakich has requested you wait for him." It's not a question, though. It's a command. So I nod and follow him through the camp. We're directed to what one of the orcs says is a temporary area. I shift from foot to foot uneasily as we wait, curious what this is all about. Sophia, the woman found with Haidus, looks a little guilty, but that is all. Not traumatized, not afraid. I guess what they said is true. She chose to spend the night with an orc. At first, I thought the worst, that the Hidus must have forced her. But Sophia almost seems happy. "How are you holding up?" I asked the woman gently. She looks almost baffled. "I don't know, it was not what I expected. He was surprisingly gentle. The way he looked at me, like I was the only thing in the world." She shakes her head. "I always thought orcs were monsters, but now..." I don't agree with her out loud, but I know what she means. These orcs aren't what we thought they were. A part of me wonders if it will be the same Zerdic, but I shake my head. I can't think like that. I glance around the camp as we wait, spotting some of the women that didn't join us. A few are working together, and I spot one woman laughing at something a grinning, hungover orc whispers in her ear. Lily whispers, "Look at them all." I thought we were meant to be free from slavery, but if we get the wrong idea... One of the women behind us laughs bitterly. Maybe we still are, just slaves in a gilded cage now. I frown. This is better than before. Is it? Her sharp, cynical look is a familiar one. What would happen if we all walked out of here then? Huh? Then we'd die, I snap. Because we've no food, it's cold, we've no weapons, and if the beasts or weather don't get us, the dark elves passing through those woods next will. That doesn't make us slaves. The others exchange uncertain looks, and I don't blame them. I don't sound like myself. Isn't it usually me warning them not to trust anyone but ourselves? I watch Zerdic march away with his men, my heart sinking. I wish I could pull him aside and try to talk to him. I was surprised he didn't want more information about the dark elves, and a part of me wonders if he didn't believe me. But after our last conversation, he seems unlikely to hear me out. Still, I have to try again. If only I could get him alone, away from prying eyes and ears. I need to find the right moment to approach him when his guard is down. Just then, another orc strides up, Narkic, I'm assuming. "You women will be assigned duties around the base," he rumbles. "Zerdic says you can't all cook." "We must stay together," I insist, meeting his gaze. I'm finding that orcs respect me when I'm direct. I don't have to cower like I did with the elves. He shakes his head. "Not possible. You need to integrate." The women around me shift on their feet, and the cynical women glares at me and mouths "told you so." "No," I say firmly. "This base is new for us, and we still need time to adjust. Once we've acclimated, we'll be able to learn different skills. In reality, I just don't want us to be separated, easy to pick off or get hurt." The orc scowls, but I stand firm, even if my heart is beating in my throat like a hummingbird. Have I pushed things too far? Orcs don't seem to need blind obedience, but I remember Zerdic's fit when he caught everyone drinking. There's a balance here, and I hope that I'm hitting it. After a tense moment, he finally growls, "Fine, stay together if you must. But the chores around the camp need to get done, not just cooking." I nod, relieved. As the other women gather around me, I feel a rush of satisfaction, exchanging a pointed look with the cynical woman. He points out a few more things that need to get done around the camp, cleaning, some sewing, and other small tasks. "And when you finish that, help pack the wagons." I look at him confused. "Pack what?" "Everything," he grunts. "We are leaving soon." At my puzzled look, he snorts. "We're a warband, girl. We have to keep moving, and Zerdic says it's urgent we move now." He stalks away, and we set out to take care of our tasks. While my hands move, let my eyes wander as I work. I can't help but realise that I'm searching for Zerdic. I keep wondering about what that orc said. We are going, And it's urgent. I wonder if maybe he did believe what I told him. He'd acted as though I'd given him useless information, but he'd also ordered everyone to pack up camp sooner than planned. Was he meeting with his clan elders and discussing how to defeat the Dark Elves? Or was he simply still enraged at everyone getting drunk in his camp? I'm still undecided when we reach the chaotic, smoky kitchen as the sun starts to sink in the sky, and then I'm too busy to think at all. We stir bubbling cauldrons of stew over crackling fires, chop hard rations with dull knives, and knead stiff dough to bake into hardtack bread. The work is menial but honest, and it feels good to pull our own weight among. Ugh, I think this stew pot is actually glued to the fire, Lily grunts as she tries to lift the heavy iron cauldron. I glance over. Here, let me help. Together we manage to drag it off the flames. The supplies are better than I expected, or have ever used, but there's many more mouths to feed. I'm glad we were allowed to stay together, because the amount of work is enough that none of us are slacking. As I scoop ladles of thin broth into wooden bowls, Zerdic unexpectedly strides in to inspect our progress. I feel a flutter of anticipation, hoping he has come to speak with me privately. But he only scans the room with a stony gaze, eyes passing over me without acknowledgement. The brusque dismissal pricks me, though I cannot say why. I open my mouth to call out, but one of his warriors leans in with urgent news before I can make a sound. I open my mouth to call out to him, but another orc approaches before I can make a sound. "Zerdic, the northern scouts have returned," the orc says urgently. With a curt nod, Zerdic turns and leaves without so much as a glance back. I stare after him, emotions churning. Why does it bother me, so that he acts as though I'm invisible? I wish I understood my own conflicted feelings. "Ellen, the bread is burning," my friend Olena murmurs, jolting me from my thoughts. I quickly turn back to my duties and try not to think about Zerdic or my bizarre reaction to him for the rest of the day.
Chapter 15. Zerdic. We travel for 2 days before we reach the nearest base, a semi-permanent settlement station for the soldiers that plan attacks rather than frequent raids like my warband. We are meant to weaken and distract while they strategize, and that's why I've come here. As soon as I arrive early with countless human women in tow, those in charge already know something important has happened. There's a small council at this base, but no one as high up as I'd like. No one that has a direct connection to old Malik. I know that I need to get a wider audience here. The location of his camp is a well-kept secret, and I know that I need to garner enough support to be sent there. When I suggest they summon nearby chieftains, the meeting is set immediately. They know I don't abandon a fight without reason. I stand before the council of chieftains in the shadowy meeting hall, lit only by guttering torches and a fire pit that burns in the center of the room. Their craggy green faces watch me intently as I finish my report. One of the human women claims the Dark Elves have unearthed powerful magic, I say. Some type of stone that allows them to tap into the magic from their original world. Our original world, Chieftain Durag interjects. I know his reputation well, but I've only seen him a handful of times. With his craggy and worn face, I wonder if he ever set foot on our original homeland. Right. Having been born here on Earth, I often forget that the mythical stories we've been told about our origins aren't so mythical after all. But there's more. There's another stone, a stone here on Earth. The elves think it contains magic strong enough to decimate our armies. The ensuing silence blankets the room like a heavy fur. The chieftains exchange ominous looks, murmuring in gruff voices. I know them well. They will take time to weigh any counsel, especially from outsiders like Ellen. So I wait, letting my words sink in. The torchlight flickers across their battle-scarred features and glinting armor. Though uneasy, they refrain from outbursts. We have fought hard for the fragile unity between clans. At last, Chief Durag speaks. "And you believe this human's warning?" His tone is skeptical, yet hides an undercurrent of worry. I meet his piercing yellow eyes. I do. Ellen has no reason to deceive us, and if she speaks true, we face grave peril. Durek grunts, signaling the other chieftains to confer privately. Their low voices rumble through the heavy air. I stand tall, hoping my faith in Ellen and our alliance is not misplaced. The fate of the clans hangs in the balance. The chieftains' brows furrow in concentration as they chat amongst themselves around the flickering light of the campfire. One stands up and strides over to me, dropping a palm on my back with a heavy thud. His raven black hair hangs over his eyes. You must take the woman. Take her with you. You will take her to Old Moloch and Hyzen at the front. They must know about the stone on Protheka, he adds urgently. I wonder why they only mention the stone on Protheka, but I'm more bothered by the fact they seem to think taking a human woman to a war zone is a good idea. I take a deep breath. I don't see any need for Elin to come, I say, irritated. I have enough trouble ignoring her now. Sharing a tent together will make that impossible. She will slow me on my journey, and this information is urgent. And there's some protective urge I don't quite understand, that won't allow me to take her to where the fiercest battles rage. The chieftain's eyes bore into me. His steely eyes slide from my face to the ground, and then back up again as if I'm a snake beneath his feet, and he's deciding whether or not to crush me in his boot before I can bite him. It is best that Ellen accompanies you, he declares in a stern voice, his tone escalating with each syllable. I shake my head. She's told me everything she knows, I say. What good will it do to have them hear her say it instead of me? The elder chieftain looks as though he might challenge me to a battle. What makes you think this is all she knows? You will take her to Old Moloch and Hyzen, where they will question her properly. I am finished discussing this. The chieftain's beady eyes dart over the 20 hardened warriors gathered inside his tent, the smell of wood smoke and sweat heavy in the air. The sound of crackling flames fills the walls as they flicker and dance in the dim light. His leather-clad fingers grip the pommel of his sword as he speaks. Old Moloch will want to hear what happens from Ellen herself, he says, with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. I swallow my remaining protests, but my throat is dry when I speak. Then we leave immediately. No. It takes everything I have not to throw my hands up in frustration. First, I must take a human, and now I must leave on their timetable. Another chieftain says, We will need to clear a path for you first. We cannot risk losing this human, but you will go soon. A hand clasps itself on my shoulder, and my chieftain grins. You've been wanting to go to the center of the fighting. I nod, but I don't feel excited at all. There's no thrill or bloodlust. I won't be there to fight. I'll be there to babysit a human. I step outside as soon as I'm dismissed. Not long after, I see that a group of humans are riding out of camp. Humans I know to be spies. The chieftains are gaining intel and clearing a path. I look towards the kitchens, remembering how Ellen looked inside them, with flour on her cheek and soot on her apron. She looked pleased, at least not frightened. Like a wild dog, she's slowly learning to trust in the world around her. She has escaped the dark elves. I'm going to bring her right back toward them.
Chapter 16. Ellen. The sun helps me fight the chill as I dash around the base delivering supplies. On our own accord, several of the women are beginning to branch out of the kitchen whenever the need arises. It feels good to escape the relentless heat of the stove and stretch my legs. Making my way back to the centre of camp, I carefully take note of all the women and their various duties. Some are preparing meals, while others are tending to livestock. The orcs stand on the outskirts, eyes sharp, watching each woman intensely. Tension hangs in the air, and a worry coils in my stomach. Everyone is talking about the meeting that Zerdic had with the council, not just the war camp leaders, but all of the chieftains from the neighbouring clans. Are they making a move against the dark elves? As I walk, my mind wanders to the conversations I'm hearing around me. Not paying attention, my forehead slams into a tall figure and I stumble backward to see Zerdic glaring down at me. My cheeks flush as I avert my gaze, clinging to a bundle of medicine. The air is heavy with tension as Zerdic and I stare at each other. He clears his throat and our eyes dart around, searching for anything that might break the thick silence. We both start to apologize in unison before he pulls his hand away from what he has been doing to offer it to me. His skin is warm and comforting against my palm as he helps me up. A flush of red spreads across my cheeks, but neither of us utter a word. I shake off my embarrassment and raise my eyes to meet his gaze. To my surprise, there is a glimmer of humour in Zerdic's expression. "We must stop meeting like this," he rumbles, the corner of his mouth twitching. I let out a startled laugh. Zerdic's shoulders relax slightly at my reaction. "What urgent errand has you dashing about so distractedly?" he asks, glancing at the bundle in my arms. "Oh, I just finished delivering some healing supplies." Zerdic nods. Can't have our healers left wanting. His dry tone makes me smile again. I realise he is trying, in his gruff way, to put me at ease after our awkward collision. "I will be more watchful of where I am going," I promise. "See that you are," Zerdic rumbles, but there is no ire in it. He steps aside and gestures for me to continue on my way. "I was actually thinking about getting some lunch," I tell Zerdic. "Do you mind if I join you?" he asks with a grin. I shake my head in response as we set off together. The canteen is busy, so we take our lunches outside, where we stumble across a quiet clearing, free from prying eyes. We settle down on the grass and dig in. For some reason, I'm suddenly self-conscious. We eat in silence before he speaks. "You know, if you insist on careening into people, you should really wear a helmet." His mouth twitches with suppressed humour. "I'm sure we have a spare one, but it might not be your size." I roll my eyes in exaggerated annoyance. "Maybe you should just learn to move out of the way." "Me?" He presses a hand to his chest. "I am an immovable pillar of orc strength." "Oh yes, I forgot," I say airily. "We mere humans should know better than to collide with monumental personages such as yourself." He barks out a laugh at my teasing tone. I find myself captivated by his rough charm and surprising wit, and then his eyes dart to my lips as I lick a crumb of bread. The brief flare of heat is so strong in his gaze that I can feel the burn from several paces away. Oh, I've noticed that he's handsome, as I'm not blind, but knowing that he thinks the same of me is so shocking that the rest of our meal passes in stunned silence. The heat in his eyes leaves as soon as it comes, but now that I know it's there, I find myself wanting to provoke it again. I resist, but it's more difficult than it should be. He's an orc, not a romantic option, even if Sophia claims to have had a good time with Haidus. After we eat, Zerdic invites me to walk with him. I'm surprised but pleased by this unexpected gesture, and as he walks me back to the supplies tent so I can finish my daily work, I realise that I don't want him to leave. What is happening to me? From the depths of the darkness of Protheka,
Or clawing up from the realms of fantasy.
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
These monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love,
Vampires.
demons,
Dark elves.
gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world to protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Protheka fantasy romance bundle.
For 80% off, right now, dive into Protheka at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
The first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprotheka.com. Protheka's magic is eternal. and this romantasy bundle will make it endless.
Chapter 17, Zerdic. The night before, I stayed up late, thinking of Ellen, wanting her, trying and failing to keep my hand from wrapping around myself while I fantasized about seeing that sexy slope of her neck from behind as she cried out my name. And in the morning, as dawn's first rays rise, my thoughts immediately turn to Ellen again. But these thoughts are more dangerous. They're soft and unfamiliar. I can't stop thinking about the warmth in my chest as we spoke yesterday, how it felt like lighting a fire in my chest every time I made her laugh, how for a moment she licked her lips and stared at my mouth, and I knew she wanted me, how the sound of her laugh was like music. What the hell is wrong with me? I have to stop thinking about her like this. I press the back of my hand against my forehead just to make sure I'm not coming down with anything. It's cool and smooth. She's just driving me insane. I don't have time for this distraction, and I don't know how I'm going to get her to the northern front and stay sane in the process. Avoiding her hasn't worked, and the time I spent in her company yesterday, doing nothing more than eating lunch, was better than time I've spent in bed with any other woman. Before I can decide whether to seek her out, a grunt interrupts my conflicted musings. "Zerdic, you're needed urgently in the war tent." With great effort, I force my thoughts back to the mission at hand. The chieftains must have already heard back from their spies. I cannot afford any distractions, no matter how alluring. Duty comes before all else. The camp is already bustling despite the early hour. As I emerge from my tent, the sounds of activity surround me. The rhythmic ring of hammers on steel echoes from the forges. Orcish shouts and gravelly laughter carry on the crisp morning air. My gaze sweeps over the camp and I note signs of change since our arrival with the rescued women. Where once only warriors' tents stood, now smaller shelters intermix, housing the swelling population. Several women chat amiably while carrying baskets of laundry to be washed. Others move briskly about various tasks. I spot Mara, the head cook, calling out instructions as women haul sacks of potatoes into the kitchens. She catches my eye and inclines her head in greeting, arms crossed over her flour-dusted apron. Nearby, a young orc woman assists an elderly human in repairing torn clothing. The women are slowly being integrated into clan life, more so than they were at my small war camp. There remains an undercurrent of unease on both sides, but less outright hostility. We have common cause against the elven threat. As I pass, nods and murmurs of Zerdic greet me from orc and human alike. Outside the war tent, I force all distractions from my mind and shoulder through the heavy flaps. Inside, the air hangs thick with tension beneath the flickering torchlight. Around the large wooden table, maps and scouts' reports lie strewn, bearing grim tidings from the front. The chieftain's craggy features are etched with worry as they pore over the documents. Chief Durag looks up, his gnarled brow furrowed. The elves press ever deeper into our lands. If they breach the northern front, our people will be slaughtered. I clench my jaw, gut churning at the thought. We have sacrificed much to gain even a foothold here. The reports make clear we are losing ground rapidly. "Casualties mount daily," another chieftain rasps. "Our warriors fight valiantly, but the elves have some dark power aiding them." I meet Durig's eyes. Then it is more vital than ever that we make for the northern front with haste, to bring warriors Old Moloch and Hyzen the dire news. "We knew you would say that. We wanted a clear path for you, but news from our spies has made clear that haste is our only option." Chief Durig's craggy features are etched with worry. The dark elf Vesperon sends a raiding party north in search of the second Dawn Stone. I frown, disturbed by the implications. The north? If they find it there before we can warn the northern front. Durag nods grimly. I need not tell you what catastrophe would follow if Vesperon succeeds. He slams a fist on the table. The other chieftains murmur in consternation. We have sacrificed much to gain a foothold in this endless conflict. We cannot relinquish it lightly. My thoughts stray to Ellen. If the elves find the stone, if our armies fall, she would be back in their clutches. The thought makes my blood boil. I meet Durag's piercing gaze. We will stop these elves and protect what is ours. Around the table, chieftains clasp forearms in solemn unity. Our task goes beyond victory in battle. We must safeguard the very survival of our people. Failure means utter annihilation. I straighten my spine beneath the unspoken weight. We will not fail. I accept the mission without hesitation. I must ride out swiftly and reach Malik before this raiding party reaches the Dawnstone. The fate of both our peoples hangs in the balance. Still, regret tugs at me that I must bring Ellen. To ride into battle is no place for her. Not only will she be in danger, but it ties my hands behind my back. Part of me wants to argue against the orders, take my men and destroy the raiding party before they ever set foot in the north. But the alternative, leaving her here unprotected if we are defeated, it chills my blood. Not only that, if the elves reach the stone before the others are warned, I am best in the midst of war, delivering our god of war sacrifices of flesh and watering his grounds with the blood of our enemies. But even I know that reaching old Malik takes precedence. If the chieftains are right, he'll know the questions to ask of Ellen. She might be the key to defeating the dark elves for good. The meeting wraps up, and the elders begin to leave. Their faces are grim. I look down at the map before I leave, and see that the dark elves in the north are congregating along the battle line, massing an army that would be difficult to defeat even without magic. Outside, Durag waits with a sealed letter. "For old Malik's eyes," he rumbles. "Deliver it when your task is complete." I run my fingers along the rough parchment and nod. I tuck it away, clearing my mind for the fight ahead. No matter what comes, I will reach old Malik and keep Ellen from harm. On that, I stake my life. Without her, we might lose everything.
Chapter 18. Ellen. The normal hustle and bustle of camp seems different today. Orcs run around with purpose, dismantling tents and packing wagons. There are orcs running around with purpose, and I watch as they start dismantling tents. Are they leaving? They hadn't told us anything. Sure enough, I was right. Zerdic and his warband are preparing to leave. Zerdic strides through camp, barking orders. "Move it, men. I want to be on the road within the hour." I watch as the orcs pack everything in record time, loading boxes of supplies onto wagons and strapping armour and weapons onto horses. The sound of metal clinks as they adjust the straps. He can't just leave me. I don't want him to go. That thought echoes through my mind as I watch Zerdic direct the orcs with a commanding voice. I almost can't believe my own thoughts, but they're simple enough to justify because with Zerdic I feel safe. I know that he won't hurt me or the other women, that he'll see we're protected. It's been a long time since I've felt safe. I'm not giving that up without a fight. My heart pounds in my chest as I watch the preparations for departure, unable to tear my eyes away. I had to do something. I can't let him leave without me. But what? What could I do to stop him? My mind raced as I frantically thought of a plan. I have to do something to stop Zerdic from leaving and make him take me with him. My eyes flicker over everyone in the camp. Wait, Hydus? That's it. Hydus is here. He's grown attached to Sophia since their night together. If I can play on those sentiments... I quickly begin to make my way towards him, pushing through the orcs as I try to get closer. As I get nearer, I notice that he has a forlorn look on his face, like he's trying to come up with a plan of his own. He looks so peaceful and yet so sad at the same time. Obviously, I'm not the only one who has gotten attached. His eyes finally meet mine and he looks up in surprise. Hi, I stammer. I need your help. His eyebrows shoot up in shock, but he quickly gestures for me to speak. It's Sophia Dash. What's wrong with Sophia? Hydus interrupts frantically. Perfect. He obviously cares a lot about her. Hidus's face is one of surprise and concern. His eyebrows knit together, and his lips form a tight line. He says nothing, but his eyes ask plenty. He looks as if he's ready to drop everything and run over to Sophia at any moment. She doesn't want you to leave. Neither do a lot of the other girls. We just can't bear it if you leave us all alone, unprotected. Please, please believe me. Hidus looks at me for a long moment before finally saying, I understand. There's a hint of sympathy in his voice. I feel relieved. He's going to help me, as long as Zerdic will listen. Hidus quickly spins around and strides towards Zerdic, motioning for the orcs to move away from him. After a few brief sentences are exchanged between them, both of them gesture emphatically, each trying to get their opinion across. They draw the attention of everyone nearby. Oh, I hope this works. The conversation goes on for what seemed like an eternity, until finally Zerdic looks at me, surprise written on his face. He nods at Hidus and then waved me over. I nervously make my way towards them and wait for them to tell me what was going on. Hidus has suggested that some of the human women join us. Zerdic says slowly, looking at me appraisingly. He thinks you will be an asset. My heart leaps with joy, and I smile widely at Hidus in gratitude before turning back to Zerdic and nodding my agreement. A chance. Yes, we can all still help you. We can cook and clean and take care of anything you need. I stammer. Other orcs nearby begin to chime in their agreement. Obviously, not just Hidus has begun to grow close to the humans. Their thick, gruff voices rumble in a fashion similar to Hidus, all of them eager to add women to the party. Zerdic frowns. I still don't think a war front is the place for women. It's the perfect place for us, I argue. We've seen worse. We know what the elves are capable of, and you'll need support, food, cleaning, first aid. My heart clenches as I stare desperately at Zerdic. He might be able to brush me off, or even just hide us, but certainly not his whole warband. Zerdic meets my eyes, and time seems to stop. The rest of the orcs hush. This is it. He's going to make his decision. I hold my breath. Zerdic pauses for a moment before he finally nods his head in agreement. He looked around at the men. Very well, he said gruffly, in what has to be the most unenthusiastic agreement I had ever heard. Still, it's an agreement. It's decided then. We shall all go together. The camp erupts in cheers as everyone celebrates the decision. I let out a relieved breath and smiled gratefully at him and Hidus. Relief eases muscles I didn't even know were tense. Zerdic shoots me a strange look, but soon he's already busy once more with his men, preparing for the trip ahead. I do the same. I quickly run into the tent. The other women follow my lead and start packing up. The camp is abuzz with activity as everyone busily prepares for what's to come. I watch, wide-eyed, as Hidus deftly packs up Sophia's supplies and helps the other girls secure their gear. I try to imagine a dark elf offering to carry my pack, and the thought alone is so ludicrous it almost sends me into hysterical laughter. Just then, my back feels lighter. I turn and see Zerdic, shouldering my pack across his back. He doesn't say a word, but his lips curl into a ghost of a smile, and my own can't help but stretch wide. Chapter 19. Ellen. We set out from the base immediately, and before the sun begins to set, we prepare for the night. The travelling camp hums with excitement as the sun sets and shadows start to stretch out across the makeshift tents. I hastily chop up potatoes, carrots, onions, and other vegetables, while one of the women lights a fire outside in the centre of the camp. I have already boiled the beef for several hours until it became tender and succulent, so all that remains is stirring the ingredients together. After situating some of the younger women around the various pots to tend to them, we leave the stew to simmer away on low heat until dinner is ready. The fires crack and the stew bubbles, its mouth-watering aroma filling the camp. I quickly ladle out portions to the hungry orcs as they jostle each other in anticipation. Content that everyone has been served, I scan the outskirts of the encampment and see Zerdic perched on a rotting log. He hasn't joined the crowd, so without hesitation, I take an extra-large helping and hurry over. The steamy bowl steams in my hands as I offer it to him with a kind smile. I stand in front of him with a large bowl filled with steaming vegetables and rice. His face lights up as he sees it, his eyes widening with appreciation. I offer it to him and he gently takes it from my hands, cradling it carefully. "Thank you," he says softly, still smiling. I slide into the spot next to him, my gaze sweeping over the vibrant camp. I spot some orcs striking logs with precise strokes of an axe, while others scurry about, bearing supplies or repair tools to mend up tents and shelters battered by fierce weather. Zerdic pivots to me. "Your speech back in the camp was certainly impassioned." There's that damned smile again. It's like a ghost, just haunting the edges of his lips. My cheeks heat. "I thought we would be useful." He hums thoughtfully. "It sounded as though you might miss me." I want to tell him that's ridiculous, but my voice catches in my throat as he leans close to my ear and murmurs, "I was taking you anyway." The feeling of his voice against my ear sets every nerve ending in my body alight, and his eyes twinkle with mischief as if he knows it. And then, as though a window's been closed, his voice turns brusque once again. Zerdic points to a large pile of firewood in the corner of the camp and explains that it needs to be chopped into smaller pieces for the fire. "You need to help us put together meals each day," he says, "and serve the orcs when they come up for dinner." A small flare of indignation burns away whatever else I might have been feeling. He's eating food I prepared. Does he think I don't already know my duties? As Zerdic finishes his instructions, I stand with my arms crossed, the indignation bubbling within me at his assumption that I need such basic guidance. Before I can voice my irritation, the atmosphere abruptly shifts. What was once a loud camp with teasing voices and the sounds of nightly routines falls silent. Orc warriors stiffen, their jovial banter ceases, and their eyes scan the surrounding area with a newfound sharpness. Zerdic's head snaps to the side, his nostrils flaring as if he's caught a scent on the wind. There's a brief, almost eerie silence, and then the subtle sounds become apparent to those of us less attuned to the wilds. The distant rustle of leaves, too forceful for a mere breeze, the snap of a twig under a stealthy foot, the faintest clink of metal. Signs that seem benign to the untrained ear, but scream danger to a warrior. "Ambush!" Zerdic's voice cuts through the tension like a blade, powerful and commanding. "Women, take shelter now!" Panic ignites instantly. Orcs grab weapons, forming a protective barrier as they shout commands in their guttural tongue. The women around me respond to Zerdic's order with a mix of fear and urgency, their earlier reservations forgotten in the face of immediate danger. I'm jostled as we all move, the scramble chaotic. The air fills with the sounds of orcs roaring, their war cries both a warning and a call to arms. Women shout in alarm, their voices swallowed by the cacophony of battle that unfolds with terrifying speed. I duck into a tent just as the clash of steel rings out, the war cries intensifying. From inside I can hear as metal clangs against metal. Shouts tell me that many are finding their mark, though. Zerdic's gruff voice rings out. "Hold the line, men!" An orc cries, "We're outnumbered," before a sickening thud cuts him off. My pulse pounds. We're helpless in here. I peek out and see elves descending from all sides. Zerdic roars and charges deeper into the fray. An elf arrows whizzes by his head. "Get back inside!" Lily shrieks, yanking me back. The tent walls shake violently as bodies slam against them. We huddle together, terrified. What if they lose? A woman whimpers. The elves will take us back, The orcs are strong, they'll protect us, I say, hoping it's true. Bile churns in my stomach as I spy out at the mayhem through a small slit in the tent canvas. The orcs are outnumbered yet fight ruthlessly, bellowing curses as they hack their axes down upon their enemies. Arrows whistle through the air from the elven archers' bows, with such speed it seems like an army of wasps swarming overhead. The sound of swords clashing and screams of agony mingle together into a demonic harmony that will be forever seared into my mind. "But we have no weapons," the woman continues, her voice tinged with desperation. "We have nothing. A sudden thought sends a surge of energy through me, and I shoot to my feet, shouting orders without thinking. "Knives!" Pots of hot water from the fire. We may not have much, but we don't have nothing. And I'm not going back to the dark elves without a fight. The women around me leap into action. They dash towards the fire pits, snatching up kitchen utensils in a flurry before returning to me, where I stand just inside the tent, arms overflowing with knives and steaming pots of boiling water. Our hands are steady despite the tremors of fear. I clutch a hefty kitchen knife, the blade catching the light as we form a makeshift line of defence. The orcs are outnumbered, but not outmatched, their roars defiant as they clash with the dark elves who dared to ambush us. "Stay together!" I yell over the din. "Protect each other!" We burst out of the tent, the boiling pots of water sloshing dangerously close to our hands. The cold steel of kitchen knives grips tightly in each fist as we charge into the fray. Elves, cloaked in the shadows of the encampment, spin around to meet us, their expressions morphing from focus to surprise, and then an eager expression I don't want to understand. We throw our boiling water with precision born of desperation, scalding flesh and disrupting their assault. The elves stumble back, howling in agony, their dark forms thrashing in the dirt. Zerdic fights like a force of nature, his battle-axe a blur of death. He carves through the skirmish, his strength unwavering. He glances my way, and I see a flicker of something in his eyes, respect, perhaps, or something deeper, before he launches himself at the elves with renewed ferocity. The encampment becomes a tableau of chaos and survival. Orcs and women, side by side, fight with a wild, untamed ferocity. The air is filled with the clangor of metal, the hiss of boiling water meeting flesh, and the war cries of the orcs. Finally, the last clash of metal against metal echoes through the woods, a grim symphony that marks the end of the conflict. The dark elves, those who remain, retreat with a speed born of fear. Their figures disappear into the trees, leaving behind the wounded and the silence of the aftermath. I set my pot, now empty of its boiling contents, down on the ground and fall to my knees, chest heaving. The knife slips from my fingers, its blade stained with the dark blood of our enemies. Zerdic is soon there, his own hands stained with the evidence of battle, his expression a mix of fury and relief. With a grunt, he reaches down, his massive hands gentle as he pulls me back to my feet. Chapter 20. Ellen. I grab a bowl of water and some basic supplies and start tending to the wounded. I go from person to person, cleaning their wounds as best I can and making sure that they are comfortable. "Here, let me help you," I say gently to an injured orc. He grunts as I clean his wounds. Most orcs remain stoic with their pain, but others moan and cry out around me. Their eyes are glassy, their breaths shallow. I try not to think about how many of them might not make it through the night. I blink back tears, staying focused. A young woman whimpers, clutching her arm. "It's burned badly." "I know, be brave," I soothe, bandaging the gash. Soon I'm out of water. "Is there a stream nearby?" I ask, looking around to the others that are also trying to salvage the camp and the injured. "Yes, through those trees." An orc pauses to reply, pointing. I walk for what feels like forever until I finally reach the bank of a small stream. As soon as I do, however, something else catches my eye. Standing on the shore, a little farther away, is Zerdic. I hadn't seen him since he helped me, ensuring I wasn't hurt, and then he dove into the action of putting his camp back together. I suppose he must have just slipped away as the tasks were delegated out. He doesn't seem to notice me. I call out his name. Zerdic? He looks up at me with relief on his face, but then immediately looks concerned as he takes in my appearance and the supplies in my hands. Are you okay? He looks almost as furious as he did during the height of the battle. Not long ago, the expression on his face would send me running. But now, it does something else. I take a deep breath and lay a palm on his chest. I have an unbearable urge to soothe him, to help him. The same urge that drove me out of the tent with nothing but a pot of boiling water. I'm fine. I can feel his heartbeat pick up speed through the palm of my hand. His breath comes in ragged pulls, mirroring the uneven tempo of my own. The metallic scent of dried blood fills the air, tiny flecks of it beneath my hand on his chest, a stark reminder of the violence we've seen. I should pull away, should wipe the residue of battle from my skin. But I don't. My hand remains, a silent testament to the brutality we've endured and the fragile thread of life we cling to. Zerdic's Adam's apple bobs as he swallows, a simple act that draws my gaze to the strong column of his throat. His name escapes from me, a whisper lost in the quietude that blankets the camp. Ellen, he responds, and there's a depth in that single utterance, a weight that seems to carry all that he wants to say but can't find the words for. The space between us crackles with an intangible energy, a tension that weaves itself around us, binding us together in the aftermath of chaos. I'm aware of every breath he takes, every shift of his muscles, every beat of his heart against my palm. It's as if the battle has stripped away the barriers between us, leaving a raw honesty in its wake. His gaze holds mine, intense and unflinching, and in his eyes, I see the unspoken encouragement, a silent permission granted without words. It's all the reassurance I need. Without thinking, I lean in and kiss him. It's a kiss born of shared terror and triumph, of the fierce joy of survival. He stiffens at first, the surprise clear in the tension of his body. But then, as if surrendering to the inevitable pull between us, he sweeps me up into his arms, his touch a paradox of gentleness and undeniable strength. I part my lips, allowing him in, and he cups the back of my head as he deepens the kiss. I let him dominate me, seeking to find that control and comfort as I savour him. For the first time, I let myself give in to this, whatever has been brewing between us. I've felt a pull to him since the day we met, and I'm glad to have finally gotten a taste. All too soon, he breaks away from the kiss, resting his forehead against mine as we both catch our breath. His eyes roam over my face, and I feel the need to soothe him. I'm fine, I say again, mindless, leaning up and capturing his lips in another kiss. I gasp lightly when he suddenly lifts me into his strong arms before laying me down along the water's edge. I was so worried when I saw you join the fight, Zerdic says, brushing my hair from my face before his hands travel down and seem to map out my body through my plain cotton clothes. Zerdic, I gasp, laying my hands on top of his as they travel further down and start to ease my shirt up. What if someone sees us? No one will see us, he says, as though sheer force of will can make it so. It must be enough reassurance for me because I find myself lifting his hands, allowing him to pull my shirt over my head. I will stop if that is what you want. No, I'm quick to say, my voice rising some. He seems to hesitate, looking closely into my eyes to see if I am telling the truth or not. I wrap my arms around his neck, pulling him down into another kiss. It's getting good, right? We know you want all the details, and we'll give them to you over at worldsofprotheka.com. Use code YouTube30 for a fantastic deal on the unabridged, spicy version of our love story. Now back to it.
Chapter 21. Zerdic. Loose-limbed and sated, the next morning I rise with a mission in mind. It is time to train all the women to fight properly. They have made themselves at home within our warband and have shown to be valuable in a fight. Gathering all the women in the camp, my booming voice commands, "Ladies, today you become warriors. You have already proven your worth on the battlefront. But if we are to survive this war, then we must hone our skills and fight with strength." The ladies nod their heads silently in agreement as I start to explain our training regimen. First, I point to each of the women. You need to learn the basics of hand-to-hand combat, blocking and striking maneuvers. Then we will move on to weapon training so that you can all become proficient in handling blades, spears, bows, and arrows. I gather the women to watch demonstrations for hand-to-hand combat training. They listen quietly as two of my soldiers demonstrate the moves. In close quarters fighting, you must be prepared to grapple, I explain. Get a solid grip on your opponent to control them. One woman asks, "What if they break the hold?" Good point. Be ready to transition to a new technique quickly. I show an arm lock and neck hold. Use these to maintain control. As we move through blocks, throws, and strikes, their confidence grows. An older woman struggles with a jumping punch. I adjust her form. Lead with your hips. Drive off your back foot. She nails it on the next try. I start them off to practice the moves with an orc to guide them, and I don't hesitate before selecting Ellen. If I see another orc's hands on her, this demonstration might become a lot more practical. We begin slowly, teaching the fundamentals of hand-to-hand combat. She is eager and quick to understand my instructions, grasping each concept with ease. The grappling sessions become intense as we wrestle and struggle. Sweat drips down our straining bodies as we each fight for dominance. Elin learns quickly, her technique and instincts improving with every lesson. She's no match for my strength, but she learns to use her speed and agility to her advantage. Again we clash, bodies colliding as we grapple for dominance. I rely on power and weight to control Ellen, seeking to pin her smaller frame. But she adapts quickly, using my momentum against me. When I drive forward, she sidesteps and sends me sprawling with a hip throw. We crash together again and again. I pin her momentarily before she reverses into a chokehold. We roll across the dirt locked together. Finally, I level up, straddling her hips and pressing her shoulders down. We freeze, both breathing hard. The sight of her, sweaty and panting, nearly undoes me. "Well done," I rasp. This near, I can feel her heart hammering against my chest. Her fiery gaze sears into me. Slowly, I release her and stand. The energy sparking between us is undeniable. I want nothing more than to grapple with her again. "Again?" Ellen demands, hunger in her eyes. We clash once more, our hot bodies colliding. I've never felt so exhilarated training with another before. By day's end, we're exhausted and aching, but a deeper craving burns within me only she can satisfy. By the end of the day, Ellen is a master of battle. All of the women are better than where they started, and seeing as how they helped us defeat a group of dark elves with hot water and kitchen utensils, I can't help but feel proud of my achievement. Ellen is now more than capable of defending herself in any situation, but as I watch her sheathe her blade with a determined look in her eyes, all I can think about is how badly I want to take her back to my tent and make love to her. My face grows hot, and my trousers taut as images of her prowess in a different kind of battle fill my mind. Knowing that arousal won't be tolerated here, I quickly spin on my heel and stride off to the privacy of my tent. I fling my bag onto the cot and take a seat at my desk. While I had intended to plan our battle strategy, my thoughts wander back to Ellen, her face illuminated with passion as we touched each other the night before. I sigh heavily and know I can't focus on military tactics. Unfortunately, we can't show you the rest of this chapter, as it's been deemed too hot for YouTube. Find the unabridged, spicy version on this story over at worldsofprotheka.com. Using code YouTube30 will yield you fantastic savings on a heart-pounding conclusion. Back to our story.
Chapter 22. Ellen. I'm still too worked up even after hours of training. Feeling Zerdic against me, wanting his hands on my body like that, I need him. And this time, I'm not going to ignore it. I keep my head held high as I leave the training area. The sun is setting, and as I make my way through the camp, I can see orcs lighting fires and gathering around them. I smell something cooking on an open fire. It smells like roasted boar. A few of them look up as I pass by, offering me a nod or two in welcome before returning to their conversations. I reach Zerdic's tent. It towers over the rest, boasting thick hide walls and animal pelts hanging from the entrance. As I'm about to part the hides, I hear a faint moan coming from inside that sounds like my name. Surprised, I halt mid-motion. Could it be Zerdic? Moaning my name. Yes, we had sex the day before, but I'm still struggling to believe he could feel that way about me. As I hear more movement, I take a deep breath and step into his tent. Oops, it looks like we've reached a part of the story that's just too hot for YouTube. But don't worry, you can unlock the uncut, steamy details over at worldsofprotheka.com. Use code YouTube30 for a special discount on the thrilling conclusion. Now back to the adventure. There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me.
Chapter 23. Zerdic. The general noise and ruckus of the camp gently filters through the tent, a balm to the agitation and aggression displayed within. Healthy bellows and friendly interactions are a small reprieve to the stressed council that I am currently working with. Not everyone came with me, but enough advisors that are privy to more war knowledge than I've been to help us get by. These dark elves are like spiders, spinning their magic webs to entrap us all. Xerus, bereft of his usual good humor, slams his fist down to enunciate his point, and a general chorus of murmured agreement follows. If we don't act now, they'll have us wrapped up like ripe flies. Our orders are to seek out Malik and Hyzen, I say, voice even. That takes precedence. Our attacks are to clear a path for us to proceed, nothing more. They just attacked us. We can't let that stand. And their bodies are tributes to the god of war. My voice is sharp, brooking no argument, even as the other soldiers murmur. We will follow the path laid out by the spies, and any other elves foolish enough to attack us will meet the same fate. Once we deliver news to old Malik, we will rejoin the fighting. So we're just supposed to let them keep hammering us? Wannik growls. Like cowards? I stand at my full height and take several steps forward, until Wannik's dumb eyes grow uncertain. We will follow orders, Wannik. If you have a problem with that, or if you would like to take charge of this, issue a challenge now. I'm so frustrated that I'd like nothing more than to send him sprawling to the ground with an audience. But he backs down instead. It's the same old argument yet again, and it boils down to the fact that the other orcs have no idea that the dark elves are in search of a secret weapon, or that our secret weapon may be the human woman who just happened to fall in our laps. I shudder to think of what may have happened if I'd left the women to die in the snow, as was my first inclination. The Dawnstone is frightening, but at least we know about it now. Before, we were flying straight into catastrophe blind, and we had no idea. A bubble of feminine laughter from outside the council tent interrupts my thoughts. I can only see the shadows of a couple passing by, the shape of a larger orc figure, close to the slender, more delicate form of a human female. They quickly pass by, scattering my thoughts with them. With that simple sound, I'm taken back to yesterday, when there was another human female I held in my arms. I can still feel Ellen's warmth as we rode out our desires together. I can hardly blame the men for taking human companions when my thoughts are filled with Ellen. What about these humans with us? Do they have any information about the Dark Elves? Another orc speaks aloud, looking thoughtfully at the crowded map. His name is Raos, and I have not heard him speak often. Apparently that is because his observations are keen. Any ideas on their movements or plans? Nothing that's reached my ears, one of the top soldiers, Grylop, answers. They've proven to make a decent meal and are good fodder in a pinch, but they haven't told us anything about the enemy we didn't already know. Right, Zerdic? No, nothing like that. I lie automatically. It's difficult to keep such a secret from my men, but I know why the chieftains are keeping tight lips. Are we sure none of them are spies? Rao says. You know how their kind are. His words anger me, and I have to remind myself that I'd thought the same thing not too long ago. The slave of your enemies who just might be looking for any opportunity to stab you in the back. A dark voice muttered on the edge of my mind. These humans have no loyalties, and plenty of motivation to betray us. The humans we've rescued weren't devoted to the machinations of the Dark Elves, and they have worked hard to support us. They haven't fed us falsehoods, nor have revealed any enemy exploits. Except, of course, for Ellen. The dark voice in my head pounces on this, thinking about the information Ellen provided. Was what she said real, or a trick to get us to lower our guard? She'd insisted that the humans join us on our journey north before she knew she was coming. Was that because she truly couldn't bear to be without me? Or is there a more sinister explanation? I shake my head and look directly at Raos. If the human women wanted to collaborate with the Dark Elves, they wouldn't have attacked them with naught but hot water and some kitchen knives. Without their intervention, we may have lost. It hurts my pride to say it, but it's true. Raos isn't done. But how did they know where to find us to begin with? This isn't the first time our camps have been discovered by Dark Elf raiding parties. The humans have proven to be valuable and resourceful allies temporarily. We're still keeping a close watch to determine their loyalties to their old masters before we start pressing them for intel. My explanation seems to satisfy enough of the orcs gathered. It's the truth, but it also says more. It says we aren't foolish enough to trust the enemy's former slaves, even if we share a meal or a bed. The human women have proven themselves capable and willing to fight the Dark Elves. But is that enough? I think about the way Ellen's legs wrapped around my hips, and the way the light makes her eyes glow. I think about her laughter, and the way she isn't afraid to challenge me, in or out of bed. I think about the woman who has so quickly enthralled me, and I wonder once again if I haven't made a terrible mistake. As long as the elves have magic, we'll never stand a chance of truly hurting them, Raos presses. They'll keep pushing into our territories and hunting us down until there are no tribes left. Can you not see what we do? One of the other soldiers speaks up. The Dark Elves have the advantage over us in every way. Even making a single mistake could be disastrous. Yes, a single misstep could be our downfall. Then we won't make mistakes. Closing my eyes, I can hear more of the sounds from outside the war tent. More and more, I hear the lighter, human tones intermingling with deeper pitches of my own kind. Men are playing cards and rolling dice, while one calls out to a passing female. She responds easily, and the men around him erupt with laughter. Somewhere else, another orc is discussing different types of fruit with a human as the wisps of their conversation flit through my ears. It sounds like peace, which can be the most dangerous thing of all. This isn't home. It's the living we've managed to eke out since the Dark Elves descended on us. I can't risk my men suffering another loss, another betrayal. And now the scouts have reported movement towards this outer bank here. Xeris's placement on the map jerks me back to the present. That puts a possible contingency of dark elves near several orc encampments, including our own. We're out of time to debate the human question. It's clear from the scout reports on the enemy movements that they are pushing to advance, even despite our recent resistance. They sure do move fast. Wannick gave a low, displeased growl. We have to figure out how they recover so quickly. We'll do it later, I answer tersely. Announcing that the Dark Elves may have a magical stone that grants them the ability to recharge their powers at will doesn't seem as though it will improve morale. Right now we need to see if we can get a decent defense together and push through to Malik. A unified front would be best against those evil elves. We can seek help from a few clans along this river, Xeris suggests. This gets another murmured assent from the chiefs in the room, and for once, I also agree. The more of us there are for the elves to push against, the weaker they become. We'll flank to reinforce some of the main encampments, and send some smaller forces to dismantle some of our smaller camps to shore up the lines. I give the suggestion as an order, a sense of unease setting in. The other soldiers agree while the chiefs clasp their forearms as a show of formal agreement. Many of us soldiers and commanders are starting to move about, as if aggravated by some charge in the air. In fact, the whole camp seems to be buzzing with more energy now. Hurried footsteps and animals braying anxiously give rise to a disturbance in activity. That's when the main hutch bursts open to reveal a haggard scout, bloodied from more than a wild animal. "Dark elf party spotted! Less than a league off!" His shout reverberates through the makeshift tent, settling low and heavy in my gut. "What direction are they headed?" I roar. "Here!" The scout returns, confirming my worst fears. There is no hesitation from any present as we all spring into action. My men and I dash out to see the rest of our group rushing forward, arms drawn. Even the most relaxed are securing arms as the warning horns sound throughout the air. Our position has been exposed, and we are all now under attack.
Chapter 24. Ellen. There is something freeing about training, going through the motions, the stretches and movements that pull and focus the body. There is even something about emptying your mind of everything else you've got going on and channeling it into the simple tasks of defense and offense. Block, parry, dodge. Today we're working on honing our skills, so no demonstrative performances today. Instead, us women are practicing together, getting used to sparring with enemies of our own size before we attempt another session with full-grown orcs. The training is going well as far as I can tell, with most of the women just as enthusiastic as I to be included in the fight. Jab, swing, drop low to finish high. My partner is Naomi, who I've chatted with a few times. She seems nice, albeit a predictable sparring partner. Casting a wistful eye at the makeshift war tent has me hesitating, slowing my following through, which allows her to parry me easily. I cast an easy smile as we back into our respective spaces and begin again. Block the next two swings, use a front kick to make space and distract. If I take the risk, I can close the gap with a grapple, or I can parry her next set to find a better opening. "You almost got past me right there," Naomi teases, interrupting my thought process. "Having an off day, Ellen?" I toss her a smirk, before I feint a grapple and drop down to deliver a low kick that sends her sprawling on her back. Within an instant, I'm overpowering her, and she's giving me the tap-out signal. We laugh as I stand to help her up, casting another quick look around. I don't want to show how close Naomi hit to the mark. Despite the settling effect of training, I still feel a sense of agitation. It's hardly a wonder why, though, when I haven't seen Zerdic all day. It's difficult to not think of him, despite all there is to do in camp. Not when there is a delicious ache in my thighs and bruises on my hips that have nothing to do with our training together yesterday. But his disappearance since then has had me agitated and distracted. I thought a training session would help calm me down, but I haven't had much luck in that department. Asking around has yielded me about the same amount of results. I'm told he's busy with duties, meetings and such. So now I've been left to stew in his absence, and to try to find ways to distract myself in the meantime. But as Naomi tosses a quarterstaff at me, I can't help but feel a welling of anger and frustration. Did I do something to displease him, or did he find me lacking in some way? Just because I'm such a low-caste human slave doesn't mean I deserve the disappearing act. Shaking off unpleasant thoughts, we settle into new stances, beginning another round. Yet as we do, more doubts start to creep into my mind. Maybe Zerdic really only wanted my body, or more information, and I'm the fool who trusted an orc. Naomi sends out a flurry of attacks that pull my focus back to the training at hand. We exchange a succession of blows, and for a few moments it's back to the routine of focus and execution. The frustration of my foolhardiness gnaws at me, causing me to lash out aggressively, and soon I have her on the defence. Backing off, I let her regroup to keep the fight going. Working up a sweat is not enough to forget the workout I had with Zerdic the night before. The weakened pulse of an imitation battle isn't distracting. If anything, it's reminding me of the battle that transpired between us from the chair to the bed and into the night. Naomi and I dance around each other. Executing a more advanced combo leaves me wide open, something my sparring partner would take advantage of if either of us were more skilled. I almost growl in frustration, wishing for a greater challenge in order to take my mind off of everything. Feeling constant doubt and insecurity is exhausting, and I would rather work out my emotions through simulated combat. It seems to be a more practical solution in the short run at any rate, and I throw myself back into practice. Even the encampment around me seems to alight with more energy. More orcs appear to be running along, but it's all distant to me as I hone in on my current opponent. Executing another set of swing moves puts me back on the offense, as I advance over Naomi's stilted step. The thrum of footsteps matches the quickened pump of my heart as I push against my opponent, and I can taste the salt of victory, close at hand. She and I are both huffing, unused to this level of exertion, but thrilling in it all the same. We want another chance to contribute more, to fight alongside others for a cause, and it comes through every swing and jab. It feels as if our movements start to reach a peak, and I am reminded of the thrill of battle that orcs describe. I can feel it on the precipice, and as the heat of my blood begins to rise, the shrill of horns pierce the air. Shouts shatter both our concentration, bringing both of our movements to a natural halt. Reality seems to seep back in around us, and I realise more than our session, there is a disturbance in camp. Orcs that were relaxing and playing cards before are now reaching for weapons and tightening their armour straps. Swinging around, I try to assess what's going on. The orc guards are already hauling off, ready to join whatever those horns called to. I barely have time to give thought to the worry before the flap of the tent bursts open from the inside, and Zerdic comes storming out in a rage. I hate how my body responds to the sight of him, even at this distance, through my frustration and the warnings of chaos. He stands like a rock against a rising storm, barreling out commands and issuing orders for alert and mobilization. In a moment, I can understand why so many turn to him for reliance. More than anything, I want him to look at me. I want him to see how I see him, despite my reticence. In spite of everything that has happened between us, I want him to recognize and realize what he is capable of. A breath passes as his gaze moves over the camp. Then he passes right over me, and the moment withers. Anger rises up in me, hot and vicious, and dripping with heartache. But then he speaks again, and it shifts the rage that's starting to blister. Round up everyone that is capable of fighting. Tell them there has been a sighting of dark elves nearby, and we're heading out to face the enemy. Those who can fight will be given the chance to test their mettle. Naomi comes up beside me as I repeat the orders he issues. We exchange a look and both go into action. She goes to alert the other women, while I start grabbing spare weapons. Together we work to arm the rest of the humans as we prepare to face off against our former captors.
Chapter 25. Zerdic. On the cusp of the horizon stand the nimble bodies of the dark elves. We knew they would be coming this way. We are prepared. I look to Ellen, and she clings to her blade with renewed vigor. Her long, chocolate hair tied back tightly in a ponytail, dancing in the wind as she psyches herself up for battle. I look to my men and climb down from the slope we've been scouting. We have a minute until the elves descend. Does everyone remember the plan? I ask. A rumble of nods and yeses pass through my clan. I draw my own axe and look out into the distance. The dark elves draw closer, their movements quick and nimble as they navigate through the treacherous terrain. We are ready for them. They may be skilled warriors, but we've beaten them before and we will defeat them again today. The wind picks up, blowing my hair into my eyes. I brush it back with my hand, my mind racing with thoughts of the impending battle. I try to keep my focus on the plan and on the task at hand, but my thoughts keep drifting back to Ellen. Never once have I felt such hesitation before a battle. During the last ambush, I was too busy to think. Now, I look at her and know that I can't fail. Nerves roil my stomach. I force myself to look away, to focus on the long, exposed necks of the overconfident elves marching to their deaths. I can't wait to sever their heads, to feel the satisfying crunch of broken bones beneath my axe. We split off into our separate groups, weapons sheathed, and steps light as we hide from the elves. An ambush is our only real way of cutting down all of them at once. As my team stealthily makes its way towards the elves, I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. This is the moment we have all been waiting for. I look over at Ellen, who is now in position and ready to strike. Her long sword glimmers in the sunlight, and I can tell she is eager for the battle to begin. Suddenly, a loud war cry fills the air, and the elves come charging towards us. Our plan is working perfectly. The elves fall right into our trap, and we are able to attack them from all sides. I lead my men into battle, my sword slicing through the air as I take down one elf after another. Ellen is right beside me, fighting with all her might. Together, we make a powerful team. Her shouts direct to the women in our army, and with her guidance, every strike leads true. Through the carnage, it's impressive to see all the women fighting like true warriors. As the battle rages on, our army begins to gain the upper hand. We push the elves back with every swing of our weapons, our determination to protect our home fueling our attacks. Elin stands out amongst the others, her movements fluid and precise as she takes down any elf that comes near. I watch in awe as she fights, her focus unwavering. Suddenly, I see an elf charging towards her from behind. I yell out a warning, but it's too late. The elf's sword slices through the air, aimed directly at Elin's back. Without thinking, I dive in front of her, deflecting the blow with my own sword. I feel the impact as our blades clash, and I can see the shock in the elf's eyes as he realizes he's been caught off guard. With a fierce determination, I push the elf back, giving Ellen the opportunity to strike. She takes it, her sword plunging into the elf's chest. I watch the life drain from the elf's eyes, and I feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that we've protected our clan from attack. As the last of the elves fall, we gather together as a clan, taking stock of the damage. Our bodies are battered and bruised, but we are alive, and we have won. Ellen walks over to me, her eyes filled with gratitude. Flecks of blood dry on her cheek, and she's never looked more beautiful. "Thank you," she says, her voice soft and sincere. "You saved my life." I smile at her, feeling a warmth spread through my body. "You fought well," I reply. She nods, and we stand in silence for a moment, watching as the rest of the tribe celebrate their victory. I feel a sudden urge to reach out and touch her, to feel her skin against mine and know that she's real. I swallow the feeling, a flurry of movements distracting my eyes from staring at the human any longer. From the corner of my vision, I see a few injured dark elves trying to make their escape. "Don't let them get away!" I shout. Without hesitation, I lead my tribe after the fleeing elves. We chase them through the forest, our steps quick and sure as we close in on them. They are fast, but we are faster. We know this land better than they ever could, and we use it to our advantage. I spot one of them up ahead, and I let out a fierce war cry as I charge towards him. He turns to face me, his sword at the ready. We clash, our weapons ringing out in the forest as we battle. This one is skilled in hand-to-hand combat, I can tell. As the fight rages on, I hardly notice another leaping onto me from behind. I growl and try to pull it off, but they both make their escape faster than I can catch them. Exhausted from battle, I drop my axe. 2 elves. That was all that managed to escape my wrath. I turn back to my clan, who have gathered around me, their faces filled with disappointment. It was a hard-fought victory, but we let 2 of the enemy slip away. I want to break my axe in 2. We did it, I say, raising my voice so that everyone can hear me. We have given our god of war a feast tonight. There are cheers and applause from the clan, but my head begins to throb. As the adrenaline starts to wear off, I feel the aches and pains of my body, reminding me of the harsh reality of battle. Ellen's shoulders press against my body as I step aside. Are you all right? If those 2 elves manage to warn the rest of their party, the skirmish will look like a walk in a meadow. Fine. I push past her to examine the battlefield.
Chapter 26. Ellen. I follow Zerdic, but he pretends not to notice that I'm walking behind him. He sets a brutal pace after the battle, and my breath is coming in puffs as I struggle to keep up. Zerdic, wait! He finally pauses, jaw tense. He still won't look at me. My eyes trail over the battlefield, scanning the corpses of the enemy. It's a gruesome sight, but it fills me with an odd sense of satisfaction. The elves have caused me such torment, and the shock in their eyes when they were felled by orcs and humans alike. A sense of pride swells within my chest at the thought of our victory. All of us bruised, beaten, but still alive. Though my body is sore, I feel nothing but the warm flood of thrilling victory coursing through every vein. In the pit of my stomach, as I glance to Zerdic, there's something else. A flush in my cheeks and a throbbing of want. My eyes lock with his and I feel a magnetic pull towards him. The way his muscles ripple as he removes his helmet, and the sweat that glistens on his forehead only make him look more desirable. His thick, strong orc hands rifle through the dead elves, looking for pieces of information that can lead us closer to the Dawnstones. I watch him for a moment, admiring the way his muscles move under his skin. It's almost as if he has a glow about him, a warm aura emanating from his body. I can't help but feel drawn to him, like a moth to a flame. As I approach him, he looks up at me, his eyes meeting mine. His gaze is intense, but there's a tenderness there too, a softness that I've never seen before. I can feel my body responding to him, my heart racing and my breath quickening. "Did you find anything?" I ask softly, my voice barely above a whisper. He nods, his eyes never leaving mine. "Yes," he replies, his voice low and gravelly. "I found a map that could lead us to the Dawnstones, but we need to move quickly. The elves won't be happy about their losses, and they'll be coming after us soon." I can feel the tension in the air as we stand there, our eyes lock in a heated gaze. The rush of victory that I felt earlier is still there, but now it's mixed with something else, something more primal. I want nothing more than those hands to rifle under my armour, under my clothes, to search for the piece of me that longs for him deeply. I softly sigh as he finishes looking for information. Why has he been avoiding me? He stands up and turns to me, his eyes still locked with mine. I can see the tension in his jaw, the way his muscles are coiled tight, ready to spring into action at any moment. The intensity of the moment feels almost palpable, like we are both standing on the brink of something powerful and dangerous. Beckoning me close, my eyes zero in on his arms, and how warm they must be to have wrapped around me. He grabs my hand, and I feel pure lightning crackle through my veins. I can't help but feel a surge of electricity course through my entire being at the touch of his rough, calloused hands. As he raises my hand, I feel my heart race and my breathing quicken. The rush of victory and the primal desire that had been building up inside me suddenly explodes into a fiery inferno of passion. The cheers of the tribe fill the air once again, but my attention is solely on Zerdic. His grip on my hand is strong, but gentle, and I can feel the heat radiating off him. I can't help but wonder what it would feel like to have those hands roaming over my skin, exploring every inch of my body. I feel his eyes on me, watching me every step of the way. The air between us is thick with tension, but neither of us seems to be willing to make a move. I can't concentrate on anything else but the way his muscles move under his skin as he walks, the way his hair falls across his forehead, and the way his eyes seem to be looking into the depths of my soul. We begin to gather the spoils of war, and I can't take my eyes off Zerdic. His broad shoulders, his chiselled chest, his rugged features that make him appear more dangerous than any elf or orc I've ever seen. I want him, and I know he can feel it too, the tension between us growing stronger with each passing moment. As the area is cleared out, Zerdic calls out for everyone to gather around. The conversations among us lull as he speaks with the forceful and powerful voice I've grown to desire. I want you all to go back to camp and declare victory for those who could not have joined us today. What about you? A soft, human voice calls out to him. I must make my way alone. This victory was the spearhead, but there is still work to be done. The congregation mutters and mumbles their confusion, but does not fight him on his word. I look up at him with confusion. He's leaving. Why? Is it because of me? He's been avoiding me for far too long, and I refuse to put up with it anymore. I watch as Zerdic strides away, his back muscles flexing with every step. I can't help but feel drawn to him, even as he walks away from me. The thrill of victory still courses through my veins, but it's mixed with a longing for him that I can't ignore. I know that I must follow him, that I can't let him go off on his own. I rush after him, my heart beating wildly in my chest. He turns to face me, his eyes blazing with a fierce intensity. You shouldn't have followed me, he growls. Without another thought, I step forward, my hand reaching out to grab his arm. He turns to look at me, surprise etched on his features. I can feel the heat of his skin, the strength of his muscles, as he looks down at me with those intense eyes. Where are you going? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper.
Chapter 27. Zerdic. Ellen's fingers dig into my skin like talons as she spins me around with surprising force. Her eyes are ablaze with fury, her lips pursed tight, and her voice is barely more than a hiss as she asks, "Where are you going?" I pause, my chest tightening as I prepare to explain. Taking a deep breath, I look her in the eye and speak steadily, emphasizing each word. The dark elves have already tracked us down twice. The size of our camp is too large to hide. She begins to shake her head, so I interrupt. It's best for me to travel alone and reach Old Moloch faster. It's my only chance of saving the others. Ellen's eyes blaze with frustration as she stamps her foot, her voice ascending in pitch and volume. But why do you have to go alone? Why can't we come with you? Despite the anger, there is a tremor of desperation in her tone. At least a small party of people who can protect you. The woods are filled with elves here. You won't be safe. My throat clenches with a lump of apprehension as I step closer to her. Though I'm trying to remain calm, my hands feel heavy on her shoulders as I look into her eyes. There is nothing that will keep me from reaching Moloch, I say. And when will you return to base? She demands. If you do reach him, like you say, when will you return, with no soldiers to travel with you? I don't know, I admit. I imagine that I'll be put to work on the northern front, fighting the dark elves at the front of the lines as old Moloch hopefully puts my information to use. Spending months away at war is less appealing than it used to be. I watch the deep shadows in her green eyes shift, fluctuating from icy detachment to blazing wrath and back again. Her dark hair cascades across her face as she straightens her shoulders and tilts her chin up, their gazes locking together. "I am coming with you," she asserts confidently, leaving no room for rebuttal. "And you cannot stop me." My stomach twists in dread when I think of Elin out there alone. I know she is brave, capable of much more than I could ever hope to be. But what if her skills aren't enough? What if something happens out there that even her intelligence and intuition can't protect her from? "I was meant to join you," she says. Her canny eyes narrow on mine. "That means they want me to speak with old Moloch in person, right? You're breaking orders by sending me back." "They're stupid orders," I mutter. My heart aches as I watch Elin's wide, trusting eyes gaze up at me. She has no idea of the danger I am facing if I take her with me on this mission. The thought of putting her in harm's way makes me hesitate. This is a responsibility I never thought I would have to bear. The threads of my fate wind down to this moment. My world stops spinning as I desperately search for a sign in her gaze. A coyote yips in the distance, and then silence falls again over the lifeless fields around us. I can feel my doubts crumbling, falling away like leaves in a gust of wind. Her fingers are soft and smooth against mine as I finally grasp her hand and look into her eyes, saying, "Fine." Excitement radiates from Ellen. She careens towards me and wraps her arms around me, enveloping me in an embrace of unconditional love. Her kind eyes seek mine out as she says, "I won't let you down." That isn't what I'm worried about.
Chapter 28. Ellen. I am ready to go with everything packed in my bag, but Zerdic stops me. We will not leave until the first light of dawn. I want to make sure the rest of our group sets off back to our base camp all right before we continue on our journey across the battlefields. That leaves me alone in the firelight that evening, and I watch as everyone busies themselves with packing while talking and laughing amongst themselves. The crackle of burning wood and sounds of the camp lull me into a sense of ease and safety, like being wrapped in my father's arms when I was a little girl. The flames writhe like 1,000 tiny red lizards with yellow bellies and black spots. The fire sizzles and pops as if each flame is 10 distinct fires, connected by thin tendrils of smoke and heat. A light breeze gushes through the trees, ruffling their leaves and flooding the air with coolness and moisture. Dust and pollen, stirred up over ages of wanderings by rabbits, deer, squirrels, birds, moles, ants, and worms, swirl up into the night sky. I missed so much, being held captive by the dark elves. What a beautiful world there is to see. And Zerdic is the reason I'm alive to see it. Zerdic returns with more wood for the fire and sits beside me on a log. We're just a little outside of the camp now, careful to keep the fire far enough away from important supplies. I used to sit by the fire with my family on nights like this. I'm sure he hasn't heard me over the fire's roar, but he nods with wide eyes. I've never spoken of my family to anyone before, especially not to an orc. But I want him to know. On this night, when the memory of them is so strong I feel like I might be able to reach out and touch my father's hand, I need to speak this aloud. The scent of smoke and spice hangs thickly in the air between us and mixes with the other scents of the fairground to form a heady perfume that teases at my nose. I know he is ready to hear my story. My heart races as I recount the events of that night to him. My arms cross over my chest, as if it would somehow protect me from reliving it all again. Orcs were cutting our village apart like a sharpened blade, I say in a strained whisper, feeling the terror returning like an unwelcome guest. The clang of swords and the screams of those around me tear through me until the darkness of death swallows up the town entirely. He watches me intently, without a word, the emotion in his gaze conveying just how difficult it is for me to keep going. Tears stream down my ashen cheeks like rivers. I liked to fish at night, even though it drove my mother crazy. I was fishing that night and I heard... I heard the screams. I climbed up a tree, and I watched my village bleed and burn and die. I swallow past a lump in my throat and my voice cracks. I waited all night until the morning came. The orcs were gone, and I found them, just outside the house. I blink back tears. They must have been looking for me. They wouldn't run without knowing I was safe. They must have... Zerdic's hand is steady on my shoulder. Did anyone escape? I shook my head. Then they died knowing you were safe in the woods. In an instant, a wave of pain explodes across my chest and tightens around my heart with such intensity that I think I'll never be able to breathe again. He silently moves forward to embrace me, understanding my pain without saying anything. And the elves found you afterward? He asks. I know he's not trying to remind me of that horror. He's making it so I don't need to speak it aloud. Gratefully, I nod. His voice is like an electric shock, jolting me to my core and sending a surge of warmth through my veins. His gaze pierces me as he speaks with conviction. I didn't know humans could be so brave until I met you. Zerdic's voice is shaking with anger and despair. His lips twist in pain as he speaks, his words dripping with venom. It was my first command, and we came across a caravan of humans in the snow. They'd been abandoned by their masters, they said. They cursed the dark elves as thoroughly as any orc I'd ever met. I believed them. And I was a fool. He spits, clenching his fists at his sides. He pauses for a moment, his voice growing hoarse with emotion. They made camp with us for weeks. Zerdic continues, frustration evident in his trembling hands. They served us dinner in our war tents, glimpsing plans to take back to the masters they claimed to despise. A deep sigh escapes him. The night of a planned ambush, the elves were prepared. I caught 3 of the humans from our camp in theirs, one of them freely lounging in his master's tent. My bravest warriors were slaughtered without mercy that night. Zerdic's voice trails off. Grief is evident on his features. My fingers feel cold against his, but I don't let go of his hand as I shake it. His eyes are determined as he says, I cannot trust in humans, just as you lack faith in orcs. But I think we can trust each other. I lean my head against his shoulder and nod.
Chapter 29. Zerdic. I watch as everyone goes to their respective sleeping quarters, exhaustion heavy in the air. I can't help but think of Ellen and the story she shared with me about the decimation of her home village. The fear in her voice was heartbreaking when she spoke of her destroyed home, suddenly making sense of why she was so scared and wary of us when we carried out our rescue mission. She remains apprehensive around orcs that she doesn't know, a feeling I understand. I find a small clearing and settle down to keep watch beneath a wide cypress tree. As I listen to the forest, I think of Ellen. A shameful part of me is glad that she'll be traveling by my side. Faint sounds and shifting shadows make the hair along my neck stand on end. A strange sensation pervades the darkness. I feel as if someone or something is watching me. Those 2 elves who escaped, how close were they to reinforcements? My pulse races as I listen intently for any other sounds that might indicate a threat. Adrenaline coursing through my veins, I grab my axe and hoist it up. Positions! I roar. An arrow whistles past my head, landing in the tree with a soft sound. My men answer my command. Then I hear the whistle of more arrows and the clang of swords. I race towards the camp, aware that the elves are following close behind. When I reach the camp, dread immediately washes over me. Our other lookouts must have been killed in the night. The dark elves have advanced on the sleeping camp from the other sides with no warning. Everywhere I look, dark elves stand in a ring around us, their swords gleaming in the torchlight. The leader has Ellen held in an unyielding grip, her neck bent painfully with his arm clamped tightly around it. A razor-sharp blade glimmers against her delicate throat as she twists and writhes wildly, her screams echoing through the air. "Let me go!" she shouts defiantly between gasps for air, her eyes filled with terror. In a flurry of frantic movement, she kicks at him, and spews death threats that echo through the night sky. Her life is hanging in the balance. One wrong move, and it will all be lost. "They'll destroy all of you," she snarls. "You'll need your hands." The elf's lips twist into a wicked smirk as he clasps his hands around her neck like a vice. "No escape this time," he seethes. "Ellen, stop. Be still," I plead. She stares into my eyes. "I will always protect you," I vow. My soul is screaming for her to comprehend the magnitude of what I'm saying, and yet all I have are my words to convey it. But our connection runs so deep that she understands from the timbre in my voice alone. The commander opens his mouth to retort with a sneer, but I attack him first. Viciously, I throw my axe and it lands in his chest with a satisfying crunch. Unarmed, I attack the elves nearest me. Sparks of magic fly from their fingertips, but my rage blinds me to its effects. My skin burns and I don't care. I crush my thumbs into the dark elf's eyes until his eyeballs drip down his cheeks, and then I take his sword and spear his friend with it. "Thank you, my friend," I say to the shrieking elf. I don't bother to put him out of his misery. I have more elves to kill. They touched her, and they'll pay for it. All of them will pay. Rage pushes me forward mindlessly, and I slay whoever's adjacent to my path. Panicked screams of the dark elves and muffled gasps ring in my ears as I lunge out with my blade. I can hear the faint ringing of metal against metal cut through the air, but I do not take the time to look back. I only have eyes for Ellen. She's joined in the fray, picking up a sword from a fallen elf and fighting alongside the rest of our camp. It is then that I realize what she means to me. Battle engulfs the encampment, a whirlwind of steel and savagery that seems to stretch the very fabric of time. The dying elf before me collapses, his grip on life ebbing as my battle-axe wrenches free from his flesh with a sickening squelch. With barely a moment's pause, I hurl myself towards the oncoming attackers, my axe raised high, my heart hammering in my chest. My muscles sing with the strain of combat, every swing of my heavy blade an exertion of raw power and desperation. My axe is a part of me, an extension of my will, cleaving the air with lethal grace. It bites into armor and flesh with unforgiving precision, each strike a wordless battle cry. The clash of metal rings in my ears, a cacophonous symphony punctuated by the screeches of elves and the guttural war cries of the orcs. The air is heavy with the acrid scent of sweat, blood, and fear. Footsteps thunder on the earth, a chaotic dance of life and death as figures blur in frenzied motion around me. I am the eye of the storm, my resolve a steel-clad bastion amidst the chaos. Each swing of my axe dispels my fear, forges it into a weapon as potent as the steel in my hands. I fight not just for survival, but for Ellen, for the promise of a future that the dark elves threaten to tear away. With a roar that tears from the depths of my soul, I muster what strength I have left and swing my axe with lethal intent. It arcs through the air, a deadly pendulum, and finds its mark in the side of an elf clad in silks that whisper of a world far removed from the brutality of this moment. The blade rends through the delicate fabric, sinking deep into his flesh. A geyser of blood erupts, painting me in the crimson hues of victory and death. The elf's eyes, wide with shock and disbelief, meet mine. In their depths, I see the dawning realization of his mortality, the question of how he, so graceful and lithe, could fall to the raw, brute force of an orc's wrath. He collapses, his body hitting the ground with a finality that echoes in the sudden, eerie lull of the fray. I stand over him, my breath heaving, my face a mask of blood and war paint, the taste of iron on my lips. In this moment I am more than an orc. I am the embodiment of the fury and love that drives me, the protector of those I hold dear, a warrior forged in the crucible of battle. He is the last elf to fall. None survive long enough to flee. Exhausted, I stagger over to Ellen and tilt up her chin, making sure there isn't so much as a scratch on her neck. "Are you okay?" I ask, my voice hoarse from shouting commands and battle cries. She nods, her eyes wide with the shock of survival, Yet there's a calmness to her that steadies my own racing heart. She steps closer, her hands reaching up to my face, not flinching at the gruesome mix of elf blood and battlefield grime that coats my skin. "I'm okay," she affirms, though her voice carries a tremor that speaks of the fear we've just survived. She blinks rapidly, trying to focus, to find reality again after the nightmare. "And maybe now is not the right time to tell you, but I don't want you to go on any longer without knowing. I love you," she confesses, the words tumbling out with the urgency of someone who's faced the abyss and found clarity. "When I saw the elves break into the camp, my heart stopped. I thought you were gone, that I'd lost you before I could tell you." Her admission strikes a chord within me, resonates deep in my chest, where the drum of battle still echoes. Without a second thought, I draw her to me, my lips finding hers in a kiss that feels like the first drop of rain after a relentless drought. It's a kiss that says what words cannot, of relief, of belonging, of what I hope for in the future. I pull back only enough to drink in the sight of her eyes, those pools of depth that have ensnared me since our paths first crossed. In them, I find my purpose, my home. The concept of love had always been an abstract, almost alien thing amidst the steel and strategy of war. But now, with her in my arms, I understand. Love is this fierce need to protect, this promise of perseverance, this unwavering certainty in the midst of uncertainty. "I would wage war across 1,000 battlefields for you," I whisper fiercely, my voice thick with emotion. "I'd serve the severed head of any enemy on a golden platter if they so much as glanced your way with ill intent." Her eyes glisten, a mirror to the sincerity in my own. "I want to wake with you each morning and find sleep only when you're in my arms each night. To fight beside you, to know what it's like to live because you're in my life," I say, my hands splayed over her heart. "Ellen, I've loved you since the first moment I saw you." Her eyes shine as she stares up at me. "Really?" I nod, pinching her chin between my thumb and forefinger. "Really?" And I kiss her deeply for everyone to see. Chapter 30. Zerdic. The adrenaline of what almost happened still courses through my blood. I whisper, "If I had lost you," as I nuzzle my face in her neck. Ellen's hand rests on the back of my head while her other hand wraps firmly around my arm. "You didn't. You saved me. I am here, and I am safe," she declares. I can feel the eyes of several members of the camp watching us, so I swiftly scoop Ellen up into my arms and hurry to my tent. As much as I no longer worry about anyone's opinion of my relationship with Ellen, I need to escape with her for a while. Once in my tent, I lower Ellen onto her own feet and bury my face in her shoulder as I clasp her arms tightly. "My heart just about beat out of my chest when I saw that elf threatening you," I say as I feel her hands rest on the back of my head. Ellen's voice quivers as she speaks, and I can feel her trembling arms as they envelop me. She pulls away slightly, and I feel the soft warmth of her lips on the crown of my head. I hear her swallowing a sob before she says, "I know, but I'm all right. I might have some bruises tomorrow, but I'm fine." "I need to see and feel that you are okay," I say. I step away from her, my hands falling to my sides. I need to know. This chapter's heat level is off the charts, too much for YouTube, in fact. But you can catch every sizzling detail at worldsofprotheka.com. Don't forget to use code YouTube30 for a hot discount. Now, back to where we left off.
If someone had told me a month ago that I would be running for my life instead of sitting in the stuffy classroom of the bordello, preparing to be sold off to indoor, I would have laughed.
The forest is not your safe space, little one.
But there's no avoiding my fate.
It's you. You're the one.
I've spent my entire life training to be the perfect bride for the top-bidding dark elf. So much can change in so little time.
You understand why you're being punished, right, child?
Your blood, it sings to me.
Please, let me out of here.
You need to learn your place.
Well, what are you? Where are you taking me?
Run!
I'm a bringer of death.
No, you're not dying. I won't let you.
You won't be able to get out.
Let me go, please.
Sadie, I will make you mine.
Chapter 31. Malik. The hairs on my arms stand on end as I approach the war camp, its walls looming high in the distance and providing a stark contrast to the lush woods that surround it. Orcish flags fly proudly from the watchtowers, their grinding metal cogs keeping time with the rhythmic clang of swords being sharpened for battle. My boots crunch through the fallen leaves as I make my way closer. Ahead of me lies my encampment, rows of makeshift tents fashioned from scrap metal and splintered wood planks. The sky above is a swirling mix of dark clouds, tinged red by the dying rays of sunset. I can hear the excited chatter coming from within my soldiers' tents, and know that our mission is near at hand. We will fight together, risk our lives for one another, and ultimately reclaim our rightful place at the head of these lands. Taking a deep breath, I step forward into the center of camp, ready to join my brothers in arms in planning out our next move. Suddenly, a voice yells out from somewhere behind me, "Sir!" I stop in my tracks and spin around. I whirl around to find Hyzen, my loyal second in command, escorting two figures across the camp. "Excellent!" I exclaim. "You must be Zerdic and his companion Ellen," I say as I stride towards them. Zerdic's eyes narrow and my lips curve. My spies have posts all over these woods. There isn't much that happens south of this warfront that I don't know about, or to the north for that matter. And what I've heard makes this a very anticipated visit. Hyzen motions for both of them to come forward, and I lead them into my tent. It's made of rough cloth that does not offer much protection from the elements, and the fire in the center is blazing, making the small space uncomfortably hot for visitors. I've found that you can learn a lot about someone when they're uncomfortable. I motion for Zerdic to take a seat. They both look like children, dwarfed by the tent as they play at being adults. I set out rags for them to sit on, and then hand each of them some wine and cheese on wooden plates. As they accept my offer, I glance up at them expectantly. "What news do you bring?" I demand, my voice cutting through the silence in the room. I raise an eyebrow as Zerdic passes me a letter sealed with wax bearing the symbol of the High Council of Orcs. My hands tremble as I gingerly pull the letter out of its envelope and break the wax seal. My eyes rapidly scan the cramped, meticulous handwriting that fills the letter, and my stomach tightens as I read the words. I've expected them, but to see them written so starkly is as uncomfortable as the fire. The parchment shakes in my hands as I read the letter, its words unmistakable and damning. The elves have a dawnstone, and they are searching for another. If they are to have both, my spine tingles as I sink into my chair, the gravity of the news settling heavily on me. No one speaks, only an oppressive silence hangs in the air as everyone present is lost in thought. This power will prove difficult to control. Even though I had anticipated this outcome, finding a solution feels insurmountable. The question reverberates in my mind. Do we destroy one stone or both? If it were both, then someone would have to go to Protheka, maybe even me. I have not been to Protheka for some time. Blurred memories from childhood are all that I have left from that faraway home. "Malik!" Zerdic fixes me with an anxious stare, and I can feel the apprehension radiating off him. His fingers fumble along the arms of his chair. Then he musters his courage and asks, "What are you going to do?" Taking a deep breath, I turn away from him and cross the room to my desk, every step echoing with purpose. I reach out, and the air shimmers. Zerdic and the girl both gasp as I use my limited magic to pull the Dawnstone from the pocket dimension I created to keep it safe. Without looking back at Zerdic, I reply simply, "I'm going to fight."